How is everyone doing? Golly, I hope you're all doing just fantastic. I thought I would jump on I was here playing around. I'm still messed up. So unprofessional. I'm so sorry. Please hang on. Please stand by. I was trying to do it off the DJI, basically GoPro. And it wasn't having it. It was not having it. I apologize. I apologize for the inconvenience. It was not working. So I was doing a test. The test failed. The test requires the Wi-Fi-tron. So, why people are piling in here, because it's going to be mad. Oh, by the way, if you do jump in here while I'm here for a little space on Earth, cheers, by the way. And if you wouldn't mind, hit the like button. Or just let me know, too, if audio's good. Or let me know what state you're in. Or let me know what the weather's like. Or anything. Let me know what your profession is. What do you do for a living? Do you make money or do you suck money? You pay taxes? Or do you get the taxes? If you know what I mean. I got to collect some paperwork here. Otherwise, it's kind of a free fall. You guys are more than welcome. I'm here because of you. And so if you guys got any questions or concerns or want to know anything about business, or I do have a couple garage doors going to be coming up this week. And if there's something you guys would like to see, you're more than welcome to ask away and see if there's anything in particular you would like to see or don't want to see. Or 2 doors, 2 9x7s. Low voltage access control. Nice. Nice. We don't do, we have learned our lessons over the years about low voltage access control. And we have found out that it's easier to basically have the customer contract it out. Another thing too, now that you brought that up, see, this is why I need you guys. That's why I need you, because you stir the brain. Let me tell you about something. If you're ever thinking about doing this, or you're kind of in that like, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. You know what I mean? But turnstiles. Turnstiles. You know what I mean by turnstiles, right? Those access, like you try to get in a building, there's like a fence line or something, and it's up by the building, or sometimes they're far away from the building. And you go to push in it, and you can't get in, you got to badge in or punch a code or something. I'll tell you a little story since we're here. And thanks for being here. Yeah, so years ago, and this is encompassed to a lot of things. We had a builder, and he was kind of new to us, right? And basically my foreman, he was with me for a couple years, right? He got this customer in the business, in the door. And all of a sudden it came down to, it was about, it's the winter time and stuff like that. And the weather wasn't too bad. We were having a real light winter. But it came down to the corporations, and this is something in business that can happen, right? They decided that they were like, we got to get this done before the end of the year. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. We got to get this installed. We got to get this done. And I'm just like, are you serious? So my one vendor, they just couldn't do it. I think it's called El Dorado, and they come out of I don't know if they come out of California or Texas, somewhere out west, from what I understand. And my foreman was on me, and we fumbled a little bit, right, on this. We probably added about 2 or 3 weeks because we didn't get them on order, and it was like we were waiting for half down, and they wanted like 3 of them, and there was just a whole laundry list of things, right? And so finally I found this place in, I believe it was in Illinois. I think it was through Lanier, or Lanier bought them or something. It was, gosh, I can't remember exactly. It was Access Control or something. I can't remember. Anyways, they could do it for us. They're like, oh yeah, we got them in stock. You can come down and get them, blah, 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 right? So I'm just like, yabba dabba doo, Davey to the rescue. And so I go flying down there, pickup truck, trailer, you know what I mean? Gonna save the world, right? Listen, save the world. And I go down there, I pick them up, we bring them back for this customer too. And so there's like the builder, and then there's like the customer that we ended up as a long-term customer, right? And this customer is using us for other things than that. So, I mean, we got like two parties that we're trying to impress here, right? We got the builder, we also have the customer, right? Where this commercial building is. And so I bring these turnstiles in, man. I'm just like, here you go, boys. Like, let's get them installed. And we start installing them. And these things are just having failures after failures after failures. And I mean, we're contacting the place in Illinois where we got the sales rep person, we got a technician person, we got them coming up here, we got them looking at it. They in the midst of like in 6 months or 8 months, they redesigned the head unit, the clicky part. And so we tried a new head unit on this thing. I mean, it was just a freaking nightmare. And so kind of what the point of the story is, right? I should have never veered from my vendor. I should have never veered from my vendor. My vendor has always provided me good quality products. And I thought, well, you can't get it to me. I'll just go somewhere else. I'll get this some, you know, a turnstile's a turnstile, right? No. And that's why I tell you guys in a lot of my videos, right? We talk about this. And hey, I see we got 4 likes. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. But all turnstiles are not built the same, right? And so I screwed up. And this thing, now we're married to this thing. We are married to this thing, these turnstiles, for years. Listen to me, for years. Problems. And now it's like we have to basically take care of it for free, right? We're the ones that provided this. I told myself it was a good learning opportunity. I hope this is going to be a good learning opportunity for you. Don't ever go against your gut. Don't ever go against a certain vendor that provides you good products. Don't let somebody force you, right? Strong arm you. Strong arm you into something, right? I should have just told the foreman. We should have told the builder, we're sorry. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to wait till January, right? The middle of January, and we'll get these installed for you. You know what I mean? That's just how it's going to have to be. But see, here's the thing. What I've learned. A lot of these corporations and stuff, right? They want to get it all on last year's books, right? They want to spend that money on, you know, so they don't have to pay so much in taxes and just a whole bunch of corporate stuff, right? So that's why they're trying. And I should have been a little more savvy and said, hey, look, how about we send you a bill? We're going to make this happen, or whatever you need, or what's I should have engaged into it is what I'm saying. And I should have got into it and said, what's going on here? Because I'm not installing this, and we can't get them. We just can't get them. They're on back order or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the truck that had them flipped over, caught on fire, shot to the moon. They're gone. They got to make new ones. What are we going to do to resolve this? So I should have never went against my gut, and I regretted it. I think they finally got ripped out. Maybe about 6-7 years later, we went with the El Dorado. Had good luck. Had a little. I know Cap has had a little bit of fudginess with one of them. But still just a way more solid product. So it's just something to, and then, so like the low voltage, we don't even mess with it, right? They want card access and all that crap with that. Nope, that's not us. And I see a lot of those people are actually backed up. Like there's not maybe enough of them. So maybe you're thinking about starting a business. Maybe you should get into access control because it always seems like it's kind of on the fritz. So let's go through some of the comments and see what's up. Oh, Tanner, I seen Tanner at the bottom here. He's working it. He's working it. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Tony. It's got the pink can. Whoop. Howdy. Hello. Randall says, love turnstiles, man. Dude, I tell you what, if you got any pointers for me, or you got any pictures, or anything like that, when you got some, you're doing something, whatever, send them to me. Send them to my cell phone. Send them through email, whatever, 231-720-9675. You can send it text me. I'd love to see them. You got any tricks? Because we're good at it, right? But we're not like, oh, we are the best. We do them for select customers. But it's basically, we just do the mechanical, like we mount it, we make it spin, we level it, make it hook up to fence lines, everything. But the rest, if you want high voltage, you want low voltage, we don't do that because it just takes too much time. Randall says, what's your thoughts on government contracts? Great question. Great question. Well, I can tell you for us, and here at Affordable Door and Gate, the government contracts is just, that's a problem. That's a problem in business, right? It just all depends on kind of what you want to do. There's so many different layers. When I think of government contracts, I go way more politics, right? Way more paperwork, way more, you got to pay workers a higher wage. You got to do their, what's that term? Anybody got that term? You got to do not competitive wages, but there's a word for it. You got to pay them a certain government wage, right? And that's kind of tough. You know what I mean? It's kind of tough because now it's almost like you got to lock them up. You know what I mean? Like you guys don't leave this job. Like you guys didn't have the parts? Oh crap. Well, you're just going to sit there on the job for a week because we got to pay and that's if it's a bid job and that. So I personally, we don't have a lot of them around here. But it's sometimes you got to kind of find your niche in business is what I've noticed. Like for myself, when I was a young lad, I did too much. Right, we did automatic sliding doors. We do gates still. We've done man doors, like commercial man doors, full view glass doors, like like the one here, like a metal one to like that full glass one up here. We did a lot of those for like commercial customers, and it's the thing that's really hard to get over and get into your head. And even me, it was hard. Is that you're not set up. I thought somebody messed with my door. Sorry, it's a squirrel. But anyways, you're not set up for it. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like the man door here, this stuff all takes all different kinds of crap to make this stuff work, right? It's way different than garage doors. It's way different than fencing. It's way different than gates, operators, low voltage. And the thing is what I'm still my mind is still thinking about a lot of is I tell you what, man, I really dig the fence right now because like I said, like nobody bugs you. It's not human interaction. Turnstiles. What does a turnstile do? A turnstile has like one job in life and that's to let humans in. That's human interaction. A man door, human interaction. The door doesn't seal. The door doesn't latch. The door swings too fast. The door caught my finger. The door hit my kid in the butt. You know what I'm saying? Like the list goes on. My garage door's not working. Well, you pulled the disconnect because the power went out. My garage doors, I think the neighbors got the code because it's opening randomly. Well, it's the stinking light bulbs, because now that's all changing. So that human interaction is sometimes really tough. Ooh, we got 5 likes? Dang. All right. So what's your thoughts? Randall, he says Alvarado. Is that what you use, Randall? You use Alvarado? That seems to be the best. That's what my vendor uses. They seem like they're built nice. They have their crap together. That one place, I don't even think they're in business anymore. I forget. Gosh, I feel like it was called Access Control, which just seems like a really just generic, but it was down in Illinois. It was a spinoff of Lanier or something. Lanier bought it and they were making them. It was like a weird interaction time and we were like the guinea pigs. And, oh man, did we pay the price? And these things aren't cheap. Turnstiles are not cheap at all. So oh man, it was just such a nightmare. And all because if we would have waited another, 3 weeks, a month, we could have had a better product. Oh, screwed up bad. What's up, Mr. Sky? Sky, I hope you're doing good. Hope Callie's treating you good out there. Just did 2 18x9s, dang, and a 10x9. And installing LiftMaster jack shaft openers tomorrow. Dude, where's the pictures? Where's my pictures? Show me those jack shafts. Show me a little clip of it in motion. Josh still got to get with me. He's got to show me some of those maximum. Cheers, 107. Holy moly. It's been 112. I wonder what the humidity is, though. If it's that warm. That's warm. Yesterday was a really, really nice day for us. Today's what, Sunday? So Saturday? Saturday was a beautiful day. Saturday was really nice. We had low humidity, 72, 76, beautiful. Today, a little on the muggy side. It was 7 degrees warmer, but definitely not like sky there. What's up, Mr. Rich? Mr. Rich B? Howdy. Glad you're here. Okay, so... Hey, I just was reading your comment actually today. I'm gonna call you OG. Unrelated, but I would like a short that I can send customers, explain why. Oh, okay. I was reading this. I was reading your comment actually earlier. One of the videos there. Like a short customer explain why I should put side mount on 32-inch radius, build instead of trolley with what is it, whack ass arm? I think you can still put a J. I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I don't do a lot of 32. I've done a few. I feel like we've extended the J arm, and that's all we did. But I don't have any 32s. So if anybody's got any 32s that they can send me, jack shafts that they're doing or putting on, hook me up. Send me an email. I normally put the email in the description below, the Daveadubson@gmail.com. Otherwise, shoot me whatever. You can, like I said, you got my phone. You can shoot me a text if that's easier too, or a clip. But like I said, I don't know. I know the 32 is going to run a lot smoother. So, I mean, a jack shaft doesn't really bother me so much on that. Maybe tilt your tracks a little bit in the back, the horizontals, even though you don't have to, because these things have so much technology in them. But it just depends, right? I still shy away from it. There's just nothing, like I feel like you have so much more control of the J arm. If you gotta manipulate it and have it push down harder on the on the door, or like for us, we get this weird thaw and freeze cycle where our doors will freeze to the ground. So I feel like I've done the J's, the J arms, and never had no problems really. They're a little bit bigger. You have to put like an extension on them, but we'll see if we can if we can get you hooked up or something, or if you, like I said, maybe you come across one, or if you know one, let me know. If they are not level, they will fail. That's a good one, Randall. That is. That's good to know. What's up, Mr. Tanner? Guys, everyone's have a good 4th? Heck yeah. Everybody had a good 4th. I was working the 4th. I stayed back for the 4th. I had a project I wanted to finish up, so I hung back, man. That's the cost of doing business. But it was good. It's good. I prefer that kind of stuff, honestly. I do. I just do. I'm a little bit goofy. Honestly, when most people are working during the business week, I like to have it off. And then when people are like taking weekends off, I like working. I'm opposite. I don't know why. It's just easier for me. I mean, I can get into places, especially a lot of our places. You just don't have to deal with, people. Rich B says, still have all fingers. Oh man, that's good. I tell you, man, those belts are what get you. It seemed like a lot of people, 2 guys I've always known, lost their pinky on those gate operators with those pulleys. Keep your hands open when you're doing it. You gotta watch it. Holy cow, we got up to 7 likes. Thank you, guys. Cheers to you. From Michigan. Whoops, what I hit here. It says, don't buy turnstiles, only turnstiles. Oh, Randall, thank you. Prevailing wage. That's the word I was looking for. Prevailing wages. That is kind of a pain in the rooster. I'm not going to lie. So what I've noticed in business, you guys let me know what you think, if you think I'm crazy with this statement. But I have no doubt that I did this to this place at one point or another. But when we first started out, you know, I mean, you're like super desperate for money, right? We're always still, the inflation's going nuts. But you know, it was, you know, boom, boom, go, 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 go. Get that garage door spring done. Get that garage door installed. Get to the next one. Boom, 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 boom. And honestly, I think that culture's still here to some degree. So it's really hard for certain people, I've noticed with employees, to sometimes slow down. So if they're used to that high pace, you know, we're going to get this job knocked out. We're going to get this next job knocked out. And then you go to these government things and government and sometimes commercial, industrial, more industrial, I should say. You know, you got to go in there. You got to do their hard hat safety stuff, PPE. Am I saying that right? Correct me. What is it? PPE? Preventative protection equipment or something like that. You know, you got to wear sleeves. You got to have metatarsal boots. You got to have, you know, pants. You got to have your safety harnesses. You know, that is a very slow process. And what I've noticed is, especially if you're kind of a small business, it can be very difficult, especially if it can be difficult because, like, for instance, like we have this one I know of, nobody gets no cell service there. So it's like anytime if somebody would go there, myself, Cap, whoever, it's like you can't ever get a hold of them, right? You got a question, a customer calls, another commercial customer calls, something's blowing up. You can't ever, like, you know what I mean? You can't get a hold of them. And it's just a different animal. So now you almost got to tell a secretary or a wife or yourself, or you're just playing the secretary, you know, like, you know, make a voicemail or something. Hey, we're gone for the day, you know, because you know how it is when some of these places you get into too, you can't have cell phones. You can't, you're not supposed to take pictures. So it's just a different atmosphere, which can be kind of good and kind of bad. Because like I said, if you like that, and they're going to basically, if you can get it where they're going to pay you, which is always nice, they'll pay you to be on the clock basically, then it's like, whatever. You want me to take a 2 or 3 hour safety course? Fine, you're going to get billed for it. Or, you know, but when it's like a bid job, that's hard. That's hard because, you know, you want to get in and out, and you got all these regulations that are slowing you. I was just watching a thing and I was thinking, I never kind of thought about this, but the guy was explaining about how, you know, housing prices, you know, construction has gone up. And he was saying, you know, I have no doubt that some of this is due to so much more safety. And I thought, my goodness, I agree. You know what I mean? And he was trying to do a roof, and he said, you know what, I can't even wear this harness. He says, if I would have put the sheeting up with this harness on, he says, I would have tripped and hung myself. And I agree with that. I'm all about safety, but I'm also about like common sense. And I know that there's times when certain things, man, are just there. This is not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's just a huge inconvenience. I can't work with this, or whatever the case may be. And you got to go a little old school. Not recommended. Prevailing wages. Holy cow. That sounds about right. Randall says, nope, 10K for single. Yeah, that sounds, like I said, turnstiles are just no joke. You know, and I think it was probably right around that time. And it was, I think we paid, they were a little bit cheaper. Like I said, when I got the ones from Illinois. And they were, you know, like 7 or 8 grand. But man, could you imagine? You know, and the thing is, like, I don't remember what it was, but I burned up like a whole day, you know, going down there. I had to meet the people. I had to throw it on the trailer. I had to strap her down. I had to haul Heine back. And I remember, you know, we get these puppies installed, and it's like, you know, we're kind of green with them a little bit, and to have an inferior product, you know what I mean? I mean, that's why sometimes I always tell you guys about with, you know, the business in a sense is that it's really difficult. Like my hat off to you guys, because I know the pain and suffering we go through, and it's really tough when you don't have vendors that make good quality products, or they do make a good quality product and then they like to change it on you. And you're like, but what was wrong with the old one? Oh, but you're gonna love this one. Short, he says. Mr. Gunsight, I wish I could. I can't do it in the middle of a live stream. I can't turn it to landscape. And the problem is why I do it this way is with landscape, I can't read the text. It's very difficult. They go by so quick, where this is more, you guys are all I can see. I can count what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see 6 of you at a time. And so I kind of don't lose my spot. If I do it the other way, I lose my place, because it'll be like 1, then I'll have to scroll, and then I click it, and then it'll pop up and says, do you want to delete this? And I go, no, that wasn't, and then I really have to depend on my moderators, which they do an amazing job. I love you guys. Thank you for helping out. I really appreciate it. But just in case they want to, you know, spend some time with the family or watch TV or something, I like to be here too, to also, if I have to engage or do something. So that's why, because trust me, I'd like it, because I only got a little window, so I gotta be like this, like a little dinosaur in my hands. I can't see them out here, so it'd be nice. One way I could do it is, I was hoping maybe to try, but I can't get the old. This has got a really nice view on it. This is big. You'd see the whole area around me, and it wouldn't work. I tried. That's why I was actually here tonight, and I gotta collect paperwork. You're right. Oh, what's Randall got here? Did a lot of work for Chevron. Says we had a, what is this? Had a caped contract, but had so many hoops to jump through. Caped contract. Can you explain what a caped contract? I don't think I really quite know. Oh, capped. So basically you were locked in, right? I mean, it'd be like us doing an estimate, and you're just, this was it. This is a number, you got to meet it. You know what I mean? And there is a difference. Some people don't really know that, but that's why, like, I didn't know this, but an estimate normally gives you a little wiggle room. But if it's quoted, you know what I mean, in your quote, you know, it's quoted, you quoted a price. That's the final. There's no wiggle room. But if you give them an estimate, kind of legally, from what I understand, I'm not a legal advisor, blah, 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 don't listen to me. I'm just some random dude on YouTube. You have a little bit of wiggle room. But that's why my stuff, I typically, what I like to do is I like just to put not to exceed. And that way when somebody comes back and they go, oh, you were like $5,000 higher than the other guy. And I go, yeah, but mine was like not to exceed. Like, I just have an easy out. And I go, you know, if it would have went smooth, I would have probably took $4,000 off. You know what I mean? Now, some people, I know another business, what do they call it? I don't want to say, it's not credentials. Gosh, I just had it on the tip of my tongue too. But they'll put in their contract, like, here's our price, but then they'll put, like, it's almost like unforeseen or consequential. It's not the word, but I'm trying to think of, they put in there, and they'll put a buffer in there, like they'll put $1,000 or $5,000, and that's, you know, that's off to the side. For me, I know how people are. I like the bottom line. I'd rather look at the bottom line too, but then if I can put in there not to exceed, you know, hey, that's just where we're at. We have unforeseen things. I don't know. You know what I mean? And I hate being in that situation. And people love that if you do the job and you take, you know, a couple $100 off, or whatever, however big the job is, take $1,000 off if it really goes easy. But I just get so sick of being burned. You know what I mean? I just hate getting screwed over. Oh, I see we got 8 likes. Thanks for the 8 likes. Maybe we get up to 10. Maybe before we end. Prevailing, what's it got? Did a lot of work. He says prevailing wages, jobs are set up for union work. Very true. Thanks for putting that in there, Rich. Sort of like Tony Soprano. I love watching Tony Soprano. I'm bummed that dude passed away, man. I like watching the clips because I think that's the real world sometimes, and just like our government, you know, there's some of the stuff that they do, and some people go bye-bye, you know. I think it's just hidden more to some degree. But yeah, I think Rich is right, probably too. And sometimes that can be really awkward. I've noticed that, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, but the union jobs, man, people like act like we're not friends. We're not even Americans. It's like you came from a different country when you go in there. They don't want to help you. It's like I don't want to be rude about it, but I feel like they are like really lazy. Like, I mean, it's like, I've never been where it's like they, you know what I mean? Like, well, I put a cut in my glove, so I can't work no more today. So until somebody gets me a glove, but that's not my job, you know. And you're like, but the trailer's right there. You could like 2 steps and get. That's not my job. So I think they had a place. I think I could see back in the day, but now with so much technology, and I don't know if there's so much, you know. And I know there's a brotherhood there, but when I worked at the power plant, I mean, it was, I don't know, people just didn't seem like they wanted to help. It just, you know, it felt even awkward to pee next to one. You know what I mean? Be in the bathroom and you're just like, you're not going to beat me up, are you? Like, you know, like I don't even want to be here. Like, I don't even want to be here. But I'm just trying to help you guys, like, get a door fixed. I don't know. What's up, Kevin? Hope Kevin's doing good. He says, we've got most our customers to back off on harnesses, and scissor lifts. According to the JLG, 200-pound man going over side creates enough force to pull lift over. Hey, all right, you know. I've had so many things with those scissor lifts. Oh, man, I remember we worked at, I told you guys before, I think the Herman Miller, the one that makes office chairs and stuff. We worked there before, and they made us start wearing a lantern that was only, I don't remember, like 5 foot or something. And it was basically, the idea was so we couldn't lean outside of the lift. I remember that one. I just heard Cap say something about one, like they can't have the bungee in it at this one place. You know how they have that accordion cord that like is supposed to blow apart if you hit so much weight? They can't have that, so he had to buy a certain one for this other customer. The stuff has gotten really very nutty, and I'm sure it's not going to get any better. Like it's just going to constantly keep getting semi-worse. I don't know how much more worse, but I mean, it's like one of those things in my head. I go, my goodness. I go, we're in a stinking scissor lift. You know how much safer a scissor lift is compared to when I was first starting out? And I was taking, 6-inch springs that are 5 feet long, up 2 ladders, me and a scrawny little guy next to me, and we're, sitting there, sweat coming down our face, sliding it up the ladder, you okay? Yeah, 2 more steps, and the ladder's like jiggling, a pull-out ladder. We've come a long ways. And I didn't see many scissor lifts. There was a few when I first started. You'd see some of the big dogs have them, it seemed like, but now you go to a job and it's like everybody's got a scissor lift. There ain't one person on a ladder. There's just scissor lift after scissor lift after scissor. I'm pretty sure because the market's gotten so saturated with them in a sense. And I'm not complaining, because I know sometimes we'll use other people's scissor lifts because they're nice, and I'll let we'll let other people use our scissor lifts. You know what I mean? Because it's just, hey, we're not here. Hey, jump on it, man. Help yourself. That's sometimes nice, that everybody works together. That's what's nice about the commercials sometimes. Everybody's just kind of got we've all been there. We've all been down in the dirt. We've all been busted up. We've all, forgot something, didn't have something, and it's just nice they can go over something and be like, hey, man, you got a wrench or a screwdriver or something or a jump pack or something? Yeah, I got you covered, But that's pretty cool. I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin. That's good to know. It always kind of blew my mind, honestly. When I think about it, like most time when I was up in a scissor lift, I was like, we'd be on something that kind of be a little sketchy, the concrete, something, they're great down there, something's not perfect. And it's like, we're not gonna, you know, I'd rather harness off to the beam up here, you know, that's up on the roof, than and go down with this scissor lift. You know what I mean? If this thing, if it falls over, like you're saying, you know. Tony, I see Tony's. What's up, boys? Tony, hope you had a good 4th. What's Rich got here? He says, in their eyes, you're a scab. Ooh, I like this. I like this. Rich has always got good stuff. He says, in your eyes, you're a scab, even though you probably have more hand-on work and training. Ooh. Thanks for bringing that up, Rich. I don't feel so alone now. See, that's what I love about this. I love this community. I love you guys when you bring up ideas like this and that. And you can bring up anything. Live streams are just, we're here, right? And, but I agree. Like I said, I've just never been to one where I've seen them be a smooth operation, you know, for the unions. And it just seems like everybody's got a grudge. My, what is he? I think he's one of my, like a distant, I don't know if it's distant uncle or whatever. This dude he worked for union places all the time. He was my neighbor for a while. And he was like, he always had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he always had, was it the do-rag, right? Where it's like the handkerchief. And he was a welder. And I mean, he just like, his crap never stunk. And he could do no wrong. And he just always had a real cocky attitude. And I have no doubt he was a good welder. But he went through like 3 different places. And I think he's old enough. I think he's retired now. But it was just like, it was kind of one of those things like you just always wanted to be like, your attitude sucks. You know what I mean? Like it just never failed. You know what I mean? Always kind of a loudmouth in a sense, but always just kind of, and the problem was it never really seemed to ever take him anywhere in life in general, just my opinion. And it was just like, what a horrible way to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that kind of stuff. I like to be open-minded. You know what I mean? Get this key out of here. She says, I always said it's not my job. Yes. And that's the thing. That's why, like, you know, some of those things, it was just, oh my gosh, customer. So I don't even like cash sometimes. I'm just getting customer paid in coins. Really? Another thing to do, though, I ain't gonna show you, but see a slip. Make sure you got people, if you got employees or whatever, make sure they're they label it. It all used to go into a pile, and then that pile turns into like $20 is missing, and then you don't know which customer it's from. So that's why I kind of don't even like cash. I like cash, don't get me wrong, but in the business world, so we have a amusement park that doesn't do cash, and I'm you know, I want cash to stay around, I really do, but I get it to some degree. It just sucks that America had to turn into this. That it's not like we don't have enough people spanking their kids or something. I don't know. That you know, like we have to go to this level now where we got to do certain things. Just kind of bums me out. But Rich, it was not my job. That's how it always felt. Like I said, when we go to the union stuff, I just, you know, I feel kind of bad about it to some degree, because I just could never figure out going like, is this good? Is this good for the world? Like, is this beneficial for everybody? You know, it just didn't seem that way when you're at the union ones. And so I think with business, that's why it's a real hard balance. So if you're kind of thinking about it, you're in that jungle. I'm going to tell you just from personal experience, it's just super hard sometimes really to go from, you know, residential to commercial to industrial to, if you're doing the union stuff, it's really difficult. It's you know, it seems like the resis are the quick turnaround money, but they'll drop you in a heartbeat, you know. And the one thing I don't like about resis is that you're always going into the unknown. Where commercial, what I do like about commercial, and if you got in like, they're just certain commercial, right? They'll call you, and the thing is though, is you got to give them basically your direct number, right? You can't have them go through the secretary and stuff like that. They get overwhelmed. These are people that are down to business, right? They've earned their spot. They've been in this position for, not always, but typically years. They know what they're doing, and they want to call somebody, and they want somebody to fix it, and they want to be like, hey, gate number 4 at Apple location is messed up, and you're like, okay, not a problem. I'll get somebody out there. I'll get myself. Blah 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 blah. And like I said, I still just revert to. I don't get a lot of praise on it. I've never got in it from white patrons, secretary, employees, but I still feel in my gut, I love the loyal customers. And I think the reason I love the loyal customers is because there's just, kids, plug your ears, but there's no bullshit. That's just how it feels. It's just, you're going to send them something, they're going to pay it. You're in the system. You know how everything works. You know what I mean? Like, you have a marriage here. You know what I mean? And you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But like when you go to the resis, and if you don't do your due diligence, they can be a tailspin if you don't do something right, or you show up there and now they left, and they're strung out in their brain, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you were coming. You're like, I just texted you and told you I'd be there in 30 minutes. And I don't know, you got to go in there, you got to deal with Fluffy the puppy, or like the one girl I used to know, an really old lady, sweet old lady. Her dog was called Freebie, and she told me one time, she goes, you know why my dog's called Freebie? And I'm like, no. She's like, because of the newspaper, you know how they have the free ads? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, that's where it came from, so I called it Freebie, and this is what we called the dog, Freebie. Pretty cool, nice lady. He says, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's right, man. I agree. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That is right. Don't forget to hit the like button. That's right. We're almost at 10. We're at 10 and I can just leave. I'm gone. Nah, I'm joking. But yeah, whoa, what's going on here? I am so sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, you got to kind of find your niche. I just feel like a lot of things is like, don't go too fast for your britches. I was thinking about some of you guys. There's some guys out there in the distance, way in the distance. You guys in the background, I know you're there. And I was like, yeah, I had to come to the shop. I came to the shop today. Hot day, sunny, right? It's just got to be done. I had to go through, what did I use? 4, 8, 12, 16. I went through approximately about 16 gallons of Roundup. Now that's mixed with water, so it's diluted, but you got to buy a gallon jug, right? And there's fence line and all that, and I'm like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I kept thinking, man, if I started out, I would lease a building. That's what I would have done. When we revamped this whole building, this place was just a shed. It was dirt floor. Nothing here. Nothing. Sliding front door. That front door here was just a little tin crap door, just dirt, trusses. That's it. Tin metal. And I learned so much. Like, there's things like your township will bog you down on. Like, you can't, like, I didn't realize, like, when you do a commercial building, you can't do your own plumbing. Nope. So that was an expense. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I had to hire a licensed plumber to come in, and they were a nightmare. When you're trying to find contractors sometimes, like when you have to step out on the other side to hire people, oh man, is it a nightmare? I had so many people come in here and they're like, well, I'm going to put an S-trap right there, and then I'm going to push it outside. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, how does it go from outside the building to the road? Well, I don't know. I guess I can let you know, blah, blah. And then they never call me back, right? They never let me know. And I was just like, I just need answers here. Like, somebody just tell me what the hell's going on. And electrician, same thing. Have to have a licensed electrician. You know what I mean? Township inspection. You know, the hot water, right? The hot water was too hot. Got to have a mixer. You know, all these little things. And it just slows you down. And especially when you're trying to run a business, and you know, you got multiple employees out running around, and you got fires you're trying to put out. And I was like thinking here too, I thought, you know, this place, you know, I got some trees that got to get chopped up. We got you know, we got grass. Luckily the grass gets mowed, but you know, those are expenses they got to pay. And you know, there's those things they only do, you know, 80-90%, right? There's still 10% that you got to make up for. What's up, Mr. Tanner? Says, yay. This is the two guys I was in a training course in Texas were part of the union in Chicago. Ooh, I bet they were interesting to talk to. And he says, and they were cool guys, but they did act like they didn't need to be there, kind of know it all. But here in Northwest Iowa, he says, we get away with murder. Says we wire openers. We wire pigtails. We are trying not to run any wires, but sometimes farmers just say run it. We don't care. It's all pretty tight community. Yeah, Tanner's got a really nice. His whole area, like, I'm gonna be like looking for a house in that area pretty soon, because I'm gonna move where Tanner's at. His place is pretty cool. There's no doubt about it. Doesn't know how to read. Well, come on, buddy. Read them for us. That's why I'm not an attorney and I'm a garage door guy, because I don't know how to read. I'm not going to be the first to admit to it. But if you got any questions, what is it? Is it from a different country? What's Yano? Is it Yano DC5? God darn it. Did Trump not get the wall built? I'm just messing with you. Sorry, just tuned in. So this may be off base, but what is that? Paramilito works better than Roundup. Oh, ooh. Well, thanks, Steve, for adding that in. Works better than Roundup for commercial fence, row, etc. Nice. Nice. Well, thanks for adding that. That really helps out. Because I was literally, what I found out, which I don't know what the reason is. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's a reason. I normally buy this stuff from Lowe's, the concentrated, right? Roundup brand. I tried a different brand one time. It seemed like it was a little off. And show your ignorance. Don't be naughty. Don't be naughty. What state you in? And anyways, so I bought a different brand than the Roundup, right? And it just seemed a little off. Like I just didn't feel like I trusted it. So I went back to the Roundup. I'd mix it. There was a certain way I'd do it. And boom, it works every time, right? But anyways, today I decided, I was like, all right, I'm gonna check to see if I can get it off Amazon. I thought, because you got to go to the store, you got to wait in line, and the customer service always really stinks. And I could see it, right? So I click on it, but then it would say, this cannot be delivered to your location due to something. It wouldn't really say, so it said try a different location. I'm sure there's some kind of regulations that they don't want you to, be snorting this stuff, or I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but it kind of was like, okay, okay, I can't get this. So I'm wondering basically if that other stuff you could get offline, because I don't know exactly where I'm going to get it then. Maybe you can tell me. RM43. I never even heard of that, Rich. And see, these are good things, because I have a lot of customers that will put up fence for, and then they're like, well, like, how do we keep, I'm like, well, I left it up a little bit so you can get the weed whacker under it or something. And I've gone past other ones where I'm like, oh, it's kind of beyond, like that weed whacker, that next stage where it's getting to be real thick. And I'm thinking, gosh, if they just go around once a year and spray the fence line with some kind of, basically Roundup, it would be, you know what I mean? Like it would just be so much better. And so this is great. I'm glad. I probably should write this down, because I think the live streams, like I said, they don't They don't do so well with keeping comments. I don't know. So right, RM 43. Try that. Let me go back to the other one here. Just tuned in, be off base, but no, it's not off base. Like I said, it's awesome. And so we'll try that. Perfect. There you go. Now I got some ideas. See? That's why we're here, to learn. I don't know it all. Oh, somebody sent me a text. Must be the product. Thank you. Is it Rich? I got to punch the name in. 219. Who's the 219? Is that you, Rich? Rich is normally on it. Tanner says, come on down, Dave. He says, we are about to put up a building to get us by. Then my buddy is going to buy it from me. He says, then we are building a 16 by 120. That's huge, with a room to add on. He says, I got a almost new 2020 black Duramax. Oh, those Duramaxes, man. Those Duramaxes. Nice. Hopefully I get over there and see the operation and everything. It'll be cool sometime. Right now it's been crammed, man. It's like I've been working at a rental. Then every day, I'm telling you guys, especially if you're just kind of new, and I'm sure some of you guys that are older than me can give some pointers, even to me. I heard this from a builder. This builder told me once, he's a little bit older than me, probably 10, 12 years older than me. And he was telling me, he's got, daughters, and I think he's got a son too. And he goes, it doesn't get easier. And I can see what he's starting to mean. And he goes, and it doesn't get cheaper. And man, it's tough, right? Because you want to spend time with your family, and the kids start wanting, bigger items in a sense, and then their bellies start getting bigger too, so they eat more food. It's like, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, and I know I can't speak on some of your behalf, because I know some of you got me beat by a little bit, not much, but when you hit 40, something changes, man. I'm telling you, at least it did for me anyways. I feel like 40 has been, I'm like, that whole thing, you're starting to watch people's age, some people, and then holy crap, I'm potentially halfway through my life. There's, your brain starts, you're sitting there thinking, how can I work smarter, not harder? A lot of things change, you know what I mean? And that's life, right? I always kind of revert it back to the pedally bike, right? Remember how maybe you wanted a pedally bike so bad, or maybe you wanted to drive or something, right? And then, or maybe you wanted that red wagon, and then life changes. Like you're like, I don't even think about a wagon anymore. It's like sitting off in the willy weeds, rusting. I don't care about that stupid wagon or my bike. Like, give me the truck, give me the car, give me the van. It's weird how life changes. And I remember talking to a guy, he passed away. He would never get operated. He had something on his back for cancer. Real smart guy. But he believed that the Lord was going to take care of him, and he would not get it fixed. He would not go see a doctor, and it's basically what took him out. And he always told me, he says, Dave, he says, your life will always change like that. He says, life is always changing, evolving. He says, you're going to feel like that till the day you die. Rich says, it will last a year. Nice. I feel like the Roundup has been working pretty good. It seems like about a year, roughly. I normally do it once a year. I don't really have a set date. It was just, I could tell stuff was getting to be a little bit of a jungle. And I said, it's time. It's time to get out there and spray it. I guess the only thing I could use, I don't know. I guess it works. I just got to quit being a baby. I'm getting older, right? But I use a Milwaukee backpack sprayer. I think what does it hold? 4 gallons, maybe a little 4 1/4. And I tell you, that thing has been very temperamental. It's really ticked me off, because that Milwaukee thing, I remember and I've taken really good care of it, right? I always rinse it out. I run water through it. I empty it out. I store it inside in a heated building. I pull the battery. I always make sure it's got fresh charged batteries. You know, just been really nice to this thing. And I remember about a year ago, 2 years ago, I go to fire that thing up. It's just dead as a doornail. I'm like pushing the battery. The LEDs are showing full charge. I can't get this thing to work. And of course, you know, I've already taken it out into the field or whatever. And I'm like, is it not Chevy Chase, is it? The guy from Christmas Vacation, right? And he's sitting there with the Christmas lights, and he's like, that's what I was doing. I was just like, and I was ready just to trash it. So I took it in, and I don't know what it is. My beautiful, wonderful wife, she has a magic touch to her. And I'm like, here. I'm like, see if you can fix it. Otherwise, it's going in the garbage can. And she monkeyed with it for just a few seconds. I don't know what she did. And she's like, it's working. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm just sitting there just like, you know, part of me is happy. Part of me is mad because I look like an idiot. And I'm just like, give me that. Thank you. And yeah, so it's fun. And then this year it has a pulsation to it. I went to go around a mailbox, right? And every time it would work in a driveway, I go across the road, the biscuit thing would not work. It would go, I did that like 6 times. Went back and messed with it, tried cleaning off the connections where I think it connects, where it makes a connection. I don't know. Full battery. But anyways, it'd be nice to have one on a cart. I found one at a rental one time. I threw it away. The battery didn't work anymore, but I think the cart had nice 2 big wheels on it. Would work probably better. And I think an older guy owned it. Canadian Doorman's here. Tanner, have you installed a Graga yet? That's right. Oh, Do My Own is online. Oh, okay. He says, I think they sell to everyone. Did I write that down right? Metro? Make sure I got it right. I think I wrote it down wrong. Let me write this down. AMATOL. Makes ground bear for a year. Perfect. Well, I appreciate that, Steve. There's a couple different products I get to check out. Rich says yes. Says Canadian just unloaded my first 2 9x7s this afternoon. Going in next week. Nice. Send me some pictures or let me know, Tanner, what you think. You know, see what you think about them. Like I said, I know one of our big, they are kind of competition. They come over our turf quite a bit, and they're quite a few cities away, 45 to an hour away. And like I said, they were huge. Wayne Dalton, the guys that you love. Dun, dun. They were huge. Wayne Dalton, and they went to I don't know if they're still doing the Graga, but that's who they went to, and I was just like, who is that? Why did they go with that? And then I thought, there's probably a reason. You know what I mean? Like, they know something I don't. Barn Dominium? Heck yeah. Canadian. He says, okay. He says, cool, man. So let me know what you think of them. I forget, Canadian Doorman, you do them, right? You like them, right? You like the Graga? Kind of peek at them. They look like a nice door. He says, only thing I wish I would have known is that you can have metal end styles added. So what are they if they're not metal? Are they just exposed? Who was the one that used to do it? Wasn't it Wayne Dalton? Wasn't it called like the Wayne Mart or something like that? And they always had their ends. You ever tear them out? And it was kind of a bad design because they would just go right into the face of the metal. There was no end cap. And that's typically where they would delaminate or whatever. They would pull away. The steel would pull away from the foam. And that's why they would kind of fail and get all jankety. And then it was like the next era or next generation of them, they put end caps on them, but they kind of kept the same. I thought they were called Wayne Mart. Wayne Mart? So when you say that, Tanner, I'm sitting here going, does it not have any end caps at all? Are they plastic or what, you know. This is, yeah, the Amish think the same thing, but Jesus made doctors and things on their planet to help us, so don't make it complicated. Yeah, that's kind of the, like I said, man, is the guy he used to drive around. He even had a nice Jaguar, and his seat would be stained because he'd have this basically oozing thing on his back. You know what I mean? It was cancer of some sort, and he would not. He was a smart man. I went around with him. I worked on some of his jobs and stuff. You know, he, I guess in a nutshell, kind of introduced me to the real estate in a sense. And then my uncle did some stuff for him, and I remember that was one of those jobs where, like, when you got employees or yourself, I remember it because I think it was my cousin. He pulled up, the guy in the Jag, and so there was a delivery of something, and it hit the eave of the building. And the building was all wood. It was an old historic house. And I remember he said something to him. And I remember my uncle, he says, man, he says, you don't ever tell a customer that. He says, customer shows up at the job site, everything is sweet, going good. Oh, yeah, that looks nice. He says, when they leave, that's when dude, that looks like crap. You got to get that fixed before he sees that. And I always kept that in my brain because it was the same thing when I had that Amar door I told you about, and the whole thing was all scratched up beyond belief. And I'm sitting there with touch-up paint underneath the sawhorses trying to get it to look beautiful. And I remember the wife comes home, you know, and she's like, oh, that door looks so nice. And I'm just like, and I don't smoke cigarettes, but I was sitting there like, if I was outside smoking a cigarette, I'd be like, yeah, well, if you would have seen it, you know, 30, 45 minutes ago, you wouldn't have said that. I need to hit us something more, you know, because I was just, oh man, I was stressed. Yes, Chevy Chase. That was me, man. That was me. No. He says, yeah, he said that one thing some people comment on. He says, but they're nice doors to install and they're well built. Nice. Mo, what's up, Mo? He says, Milwaukee has a 5-year warranty. Find a place that will send it in for you to fix or replace. Mo, I'm glad you brought that up because I get a lot of flack on this. And you're right. You're absolutely right. But here's the problem I run into. We have a place not too far from the shop. They're great people. Their building is beautiful, just full of all kinds of beautiful red Milwaukee tools. You can go in there, you can purchase the stuff, right? But you can't bring stuff in for repair. They don't do that. Everything goes out the door, nothing comes back in the door type of deal with them. So if we want one, ours is in basically Grand Rapids, Michigan. And it's on the other side of Grand Rapids. So it probably is roughly about an hour and 15-minute drive. And I don't know if it's because I've been in, not a lot, but I've been in a few, 2 or 3 car accidents. I've seen my fair share. I watch a lot of police videos and a lot of, you know, I look at it and I go, man, my time. And this is just how I feel. Maybe this is how some of you guys feel too. I don't know. You know, but for me, I normally don't have a problem inventing money. That's not a problem. My problem is creating more time. And I mean more time on this earth. You know what I mean? We all have a certain amount of time. We don't know when our time is up. And so I always I look at it and I go, you know, for me to drive out there, and I got to drop it off. Then I got to travel back, right? So that's what, 2.5, right? 2.5 hours gone. Then I got to go back and do it again, you know, to go pick it back up. And like I said, with the products, you're absolutely right. I'm not picking on you by any means. It's just the problem. And then some people, will execute me, and they'll say, well, you just call them up and they'll give you a shipping. And I seemed like I did that, and they didn't really want to do that. They were like, you need to find a place that repairs. And that's what they told me when I had the chainsaw problem. I'm sure there is ways. And then the problem is there's a video out there that I watched a guy on the chainsaw one, and he'd write down, and I forget what his caveat, but he sent it in. And it was like 3 or 6 times, and they didn't fix the problem. It's like, it's always a bummer to me. What the point is, what I'm trying to make is that it's just a real bummer when you buy high-end products, right? Could be a car, could be a truck, could be a van, could be a tool, could be an appliance, and the darn thing has issues. That's the problem. And you don't get certain customer service. I remember, I don't even hear it that much anymore. I used to hear from my mom or certain family members, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I called them and they just sent us a new one, So like, she'd be like, this one, it's got a scratch in it. Like, if you want it, you can have, I don't know, it might be a little ice maker or something. You just don't see that anymore. It's like we got to send it in, we got to diagnose it, we got to and it's like, oh my gosh, where is the customer? And plus I just want a quality product that works. Hey, we got 9 likes. One more gets us to 10. One more. But Mo, you're right. 5-year, that's awesome. I still feel like I kind of go with that whole, the mechanic told me one time he bought Snap-on. He was a Snap-on guy. I was a Craftsman Sears. That's all I could afford when I used to be working auto mechanic. And he was like, what good's it do you? He says, if the tool isn't there when you need it. He says, you know how much you're losing? And I kind of agree. And I did that one time with the business, right? I was starting out. I bought cheap tools, power tools. And then my other caveat was I was buying used power tools, which was not a good idea. I'd buy them off eBay because that was kind of the thing back in the day. And the switches weren't right, or something wasn't quite right with them. You kind of got scammed. It wasn't maybe a full scam, but it was kind of a scam. And it was like, you know what, for another $100, and and it's tough though when you're starting out and you don't got a lot of money. Where now it's like I don't screw around with tires anymore. I just buy new tires. I don't screw around with power tools. I just buy the power tools. I don't buy used. I found that, but I will cheap out on certain things. Certain things just work. Some wrenches maybe, or what else can you cheap out on? Punches, something like that. Is it Mayas? I can't read, right? So Mayas, M-A-I-S, says, hi, old man. Well, hello. I am definitely getting older. Uh-oh, Steve's got here. Sorry. He says, let me make sure I got it still right. Tool is the correct. So I'll circle this one. Right. Perfect. Thank you, Steve. Canadian Doorman, he says, Tanner, another thing that might take getting used to, you need to use wood legs for the rollers. What? Always switch back and forth. So you're always switching back and forth. What the flip-flop is going on here? Oh, it's painted wood. Oh, Lord. What are we going back? We going back to caveman days? Oh, man, I'm glad Canadian. But you can get upgraded. Wow. Man, I'm learning so much. Yeah, I don't know if I see any benefit with wood. Like, what's the benefit? Anybody got anything? Benefit of wood? Being in there for the end caps? I can't ever think where I go, man, I wish I had wood end caps. I just can't think of that. Says Dave, he says, I've installed lots of Graga. He says, but I mostly use, is it Garex? He says, very similar company, but instead of using wood in the end caps, like Graga, he says, Garex, he says, uses a plastic. Garex can add end caps if requested. Wow. Wow, this is like, I don't even know how to like approach this. Because this is like, I feel like this is kind of like caveman stuff compared to like, I don't think I've ever, like I'm trying to think of anybody, like Safeway does okay on that. I don't think Safeway does anything funny. Wayne Dalton does okay on it, even though Wayne Dalton's panels are, Clopay just does their normal. I mean, the only one that comes to mind when I think about end caps that I'm always a little bit flustered on is the one that comes to mind is the Wayne Dalton, the thermal span, the TS125, TS150, TS200. And I've had it before on their TS125 that their end cap wasn't quite on their little skinny section right, and it kept the door lifted up. So that's the only thing. But man, like wood end caps. So like doesn't like, if it doesn't cup the end cap, like can it start warping over time? Like I've seen, I'm trying to think of what company it was. There was a company, I've tore a lot of those doors out, you know, and it's like they get to be, was it oil canning? They get the oil can on them where it's like, it's kind of like something let loose, the glue. And so, but why? It says, yeah, he says, I figure as much as not a big deal. We run belts. He says, so it's not too much of a hassle, I would think. Huh. He says, yeah, it's like when your guys try and tell a customer a price of a product and the customer calls and you have to tell them otherwise. Ugh. Ugh. What's Tony got? Tony says, he says, yeah, like during COVID, Tanner, he says, couldn't even get a price. They have to call first. Whew. Man, I tell you, isn't that is tough, man. I hope we don't ever have to, I hope and I pray that nobody has to go ever through that scenario again. Some of you guys might not know. That's why I started growing a beard. It was because of the cough syndrome, the co in the 19, because the guy that was working here, he told me, you know, we were kind of going back and forth, and he was like, you know, he says, oh, he goes, it's just, they're gonna for a couple weeks. And I said, unless they eliminate the people, like basically like the Sopranos, I said, if all these people, I said, it's not gonna be gone in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, just a couple weeks, and then, you know, and I said, okay. I said, well, I'll start growing a beard. I said, we'll have this conversation. Shoot, the beard got down to here at a point where I actually trimmed it, but I couldn't believe it, man. What a bunch of scary times. I mean, I had a guy that was working here at one time, and he was, you know, totally against it. And I tell you what, I mean, what a nightmare. I mean, you know, I'm going to go out there. They're not going to stop me. And I said, yeah, please. I said, here's the thing. I said, I'm with you, buddy. I said, but here's the thing. I said, you got a fully wrapped van. It's a big target. And I said, I'm already watching these people. Did you guys see anybody? Comment below. Tell me what you've seen. But I was watching these guys that were doing bark, right? Like bark around the trees, you know, make your yard pretty, gravel, dirt. You know, and these people on the internet were blowing the shit up out of these people, just blowing them up. I can't believe this person. I'm watching it. I'm looking at it. People on Facebook and everything, right? They're posting pictures. I can't believe this person's out doing this. And even kind of one of the liberal guys that was here, he's like, Dave, he goes, I don't even see the problem. He goes, you can order the crap out, you know, call it up, pay with it with a credit card. A truck pulls into your driveway. It tips, it dumps it out, they leave, you come out of your house, and I'm like, oh, I agree. I'm like, somebody's butt hurt, you know? And at that time, heck, I didn't know if we were going to be shut down. Luckily, we got to be considered essential because we do fire departments, road commissions, you know, other municipalities. But what a time where, that's why sometimes I'm always like, you know, maybe you want to have a sleeper vehicle. You know, maybe you got one that you can pull, you know, it's got just a little stickering. not fully wrapped, because you can pull, because I remember even the guy, a contractor that was working on one of my like flip houses. He he was a great dude, super great dude, military, served his country, and he's like, I mean, I remember him flat out. His truck had a topper that had he did drywall, and I remember him telling me, he's like, dude, he's like, I mean, he's like freaking out. He's like, I ripped the stickers off my truck. He's like, man, he's like, I can't stop. He's like, I got bills to pay. He's like, I got a family to feed. And I'm like, oh, I get it, dude. I get it. Like, I get it. And he's like, so luckily some of these customers, like, they're going to like hotels while I'm working, and like, or they're leaving while I'm working. They're at work. I come in and I'm just like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's important. Everybody. That wood is encapsulated in the skin, he says, of the door, but the end of the panel is painted white. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're saying. And I can see where Canadian Doorman was saying it's a little bit of a pain to switch to wood. So I could definitely, but it's nice, right? It sounds like you have the option. I'd be curious if you can let me know, Tanner, at some point, what's the upgrade cost? Is it like, I don't know if it's going to change on the door, but like, let's say that's the size that you got, 9x7, what would that upgrade? Is it $10, $20, $40, $60? Because obviously I know I'd be doing metal, because the wood on the end, like I said, that just seems problematic, especially up for here in Michigan, moisture, rain, snow, and I don't like the fact that I have to change my bit. That would confuse me, and I'd be worried about employees, that they would just be like, I don't know, like, you just hogged that out. What are you doing? I didn't know. We can always through bolt it. No, we're not going to through bolt it. Rich's guy says none. So do you have to carriage bolt the bottom panel? That's like old school, man. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. Kevin, or Keith, I'm sorry, Keith on here. He's got TS 125 says are the worst. He says for that, feeling your pain there. He says I wouldn't try. He says I just would try my best to upsell to TS 150. Keith, you're totally right, man. I'll tell you just a quick little story on one. I did one for a builder. Oh God, how many did we do? I think we did 4 doors, 4 or 5 or 6 on one side. But anyways, it was, let's say 8 doors. No windows, completely no windows in this thing. And I remember we did it for the builder, and the builder that we're doing it for is already a really picky builder. Like, he's always calling me out on everything, right? Good dude, but just always, your track's not level. What? Oh, shoot, you're right. Door's not something. Always got something. You know how it is on a commercial building. If it's just a one roof, stuff slanted, blah, blah, blah. And so we got these doors, right? We had a mafia of guys there. I think we had 3 or 4 guys there working. And that was when I found out that the employees were just letting their vehicles run. Oh, yeah, workers. They just 8, 12 hours out of the day, just sitting there letting their vehicles run because they wanted to go, even though the building had an office with heat and the inside of the building wasn't that bad, but they just let their vehicles run. Oh my gosh. Just letting their vans idle. I'm like, yo, like, what the heck's up with these vehicles just running out here, burning gas? Oh, well, we get kind of cold. Oh, okay, well, go out there 10 minutes before and turn it on. Don't leave it running all day. Anywho, so I digress. So anyways, we start stacking these doors. We get to the very end doors, right? And as we stack it, we cut off the lights to this building. There isn't a window in this place. The sun is blaring that day, and I got gaps everywhere on these doors, like inconsistently. And for one, with the TS being so thin, it's like the sunlight can just pierce right through, right? Like the way I try to always think of it is, like if I told you, I said, hey, let's put these 2 pieces of paper together. This is a TS 125. We got to envision here. And I said, let's put this together and like not have sunlight come through here. You go, that's going to be freaking impossible. But if I took 2 bigger objects, like 2 boxes, which I don't have, together, it'd be easier to block the sunlight. We can kind of squish it, right? Sunlight can't get through it. And I just remember standing back and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is sunlight. And these are insulated doors, not very good insulated. But I kept thinking to myself, how am I going to explain this to, the customer that owns this building or the builder, that they wanted a cheaper product. And so it was funny because I was going down actually to the Wayne Dalton Corporation that later that week. And I told he's like the guy that's in charge, the manager of the, I can't say the word, the dispatch place. And I'm like, hey, I got a problem. And I'm like, I mean, like the whole time I'm biting my fingernails. I'm just waiting for that phone call. Who in the, what in the, I mean, why even have insulated garage doors? There's light coming right through this thing. I know. And the end caps are somewhat built wrong or whatever. I'd have to go through and take off all the hinges. Basically, it was one of those situations. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, and it's not a very good experience, where you hit a situation where you go, you throw up your arms and you go, then people are looking at you, right? And they want an answer. And you go, yeah, tear the doors all back down. Just tear them all back down. We got to tear them all back down and start over. Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to eat that cost? And now this guy, right, he even told me we're driving down, right? He's buttering us up. We're going to get dinner. We're going to go see the plant and all this. And he's like, he goes, I was thinking about it after I think we were cruising back. And he says, we'll replace them all for you. And I'm like, the problem is, if you replace them, who's to say they're still not screwed up? And I know how to fix them. It's just the end cap's got to come off. And they got little screws in them, but I got to take the hinges off. So I got to basically take all the sections off. And now everything's got holes in it. You know what I mean? So nothing's going to bite as hard as it used to. I don't know how we never got called out on it. I don't know how. But it was one of those things. And those are things, I'm telling you guys, that'll keep you up at night. Because you're sitting there and you're going, at the last minute, maybe I'll just tell them I'll just do TS150s, right? And you try to tell your wife, or you try to tell a secretary, or try to tell an employee, and they're going, I don't know why you would do that. We quoted this. Why would you do that? Those are going to cost us more. And you're like, I know. It might cost us another, whatever, 1,000 or 2 on top, and we're not going to make as much, but I know the problems we could have. And if I look at it the other way, would I have to pay employees and scissor lifts and trucks that are running out there just idling all day, burning up gasoline? Maybe I'll just take another $1,000 or $2,000 licking and get a better product, and everybody will be good to go. You know what I'm saying? Got a fly sitting right there looking at me. You know what works good for flies? Hit them with some Windex. That knocks the wind out of them. He says that's the other nice thing of Iowa. He says we don't slow down at all. We don't have to wear masks. Ooh, nice. At my construction-related jobs, I had to go into Menards, and that is, what it says, no restaurants, nothing like, oh, nice. I didn't even happen, how does it say? Yeah, I'm going to push. North Central still is my go-to, and should have Haas in a few weeks, so I won't need to sell Gragas or too often, it says. Nice. See, I'm going to Iowa. Who's better than Iowa? Tennessee? Need to go one of those red states. So Canadian, he says, right. He says you don't have to change. You don't have to change the bit. It says, oh, I jumped here. It says they are 7/16, no carriage bolts. I'm glad he clarified that, because that was a good question, Rich. That was a good question. Because I remember the wood doors, they had the carriage bolts in them. Wood legs, he says, they bite really well. I'm sure they do. What kind of wood are they using? Cedar? Red oak? What kind of wood are they putting in there? Pine? Cheap pine? That's a question I wonder about. Tanner, I need you to sniff the end of that door section. Oh. Says they bite really well. He says there's no hollow space in the ends. It's completely solid. They never seen an issue. Nice. Well, that's good. Let's hope they don't. I just look at that. I would definitely have to go with the metal in that, because the problem is there's these things called employees, and they would, and I could do it myself. Honestly, it's like the TS 125, right? The TS 125, Wayne Dalton garage door. Listen to me. If you use the standard screws that come with most garage doors, the self-tapping that for hinges and stuff like that, or you get them from Service Spring, go Service Spring, and you go to zip that in a TS 125, it's so thin it'll push the metal out or put a hole in the other side. And then you have a little sad face and a little tear comes out. Because now you just, especially if you, I had my stepdad working one time. Luckily, this was like his third one with me. So he was pretty knowledgeable, and I kept all the hardware. I try to keep it separate. But I think they still throw a couple packages in there for struts or something like that. And all of a sudden we got 3/4 of the way of the door, and I think we're on a lift. And my brain just did that. And I was like, and I looked at him, and I'm like, hey, what screws are you using? And he's like, these short ones? And I mean, he's like looking at me all, and I'm like, oh, thank God, thank you. Because now I'm like I'm getting on top of the door section, looking down at everything, the face, seeing if there's any holes. And I'm like, don't forget, whatever you do, every screw you put in, make sure you use the small ones. And that's very paranoid, because I did it myself. I've been with employees, and the thing is that it's normally not bad for like a one door, but it's when you're doing 2 or 3 or 6 or 20 doors all at once, and you got a crew of people there, and the impacts are flying and the guns are going, and it's just, that's where stuff gets screwed up, and that's where it can cost you a ton of money. And so I could definitely see guys being in the habit. I could see myself even getting in the habit where I just use a metal, and I'd be like, why isn't this biting? And it's hogging it out. Throw it, get a wood one. I know it's not the end of the world. But if you can get metal ones, I think like I said, I haven't seen any comments yet. You're more welcome to comment. Even after the video, you can comment and just let me know. I don't know what the benefit. I don't know. I've never done a garage door right at the end where I was just like, gosh, I wish this was wood. This stinking metal end cap, I wish it was maybe on the TS 125, but you couldn't do wood on there because they're too thin. But I remember I've taken out a lot of doors, and I've seen it where they come apart from the wood, or they get hit and they had like a wood structure inside. But I just can't think of anything right off the top of my head where I go, oh, I was in a situation where I go, man, I wish I had a wood end cap. So I'd like to know what the theory, it'd almost be cool to hear like what Graga says about it. Like we go, well, it's quieter. It doesn't squeak. It doesn't twist. It doesn't, what's the theory behind it? Or is it just cost saving? So I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know. Changed a bit, no carriage, he says. Wood legs, he said they bite really well. No hollow space end caps. I've seen any issues. Wonder what size. How they do is it like a 2x4 width? I'm sure they are good door, but how do you know if the wood splits inside the panel? Do you drill and pre-drill first? Ooh, that's a great question. Because I was kind of thinking that in the back of my head. Like I was thinking, hey, you know how it is? Like especially if you're doing, when you're doing the spring pads, how we've all been in that situation where you're like, I should probably pre-drill that, but I'm already here, screw it. And you go to do it, there goes the board, and you're like, fudge. Ugh. Now I'm thinking of that movie. It's not Christmas Vacation. What's the one where the kid shoots his eye out with a BB gun? You guys will have to let me know. Is it Christmas? No, it's not Christmas. Can't think of it. The Red Ryder BB gun. That's what I'm thinking. When he says the bad word, fudge. That's how I feel when I split the wood. You know, when I'm doing my spring pad, I'm like, I should go down and get a drill. Screw that. Just, you know. Ah, fudge. Kevin, he says, I consider TS125. He says a commercial version of the 9600 series residential. You're going to have a gap somewhere. He says they just suck. Yeah, I've had, it's weird though. I've had 9600s. I can't remember so much. I've had it where we've had to try to figure, we play the guessing game. Oh, and I see we got 11 likes. Thanks for hitting the likes button, you guys. Where I've had the residential, the 96, especially on the bigger, like 16 by 7 wide doors, and you gotta like pull the panel down, and they get a weird bow, which I could never figure out. I'm like, how did this thing get a bow in it? And sometimes like you just don't ever put that much thought into it, but you're like, was it how I hauled it? No, I hauled it flat. It sat in the shop flat, so it's not bowed this way flat. It's bowed like when it's sitting up, and you're like, how does it even do that? You're like, that's got to be a manufacturer. So I've had it where I've had to like pull it down, put screws in it, and you're like, yeah, that hinge is gonna prematurely wear. You know, like they just spray a little more oil on it, it'd be fine. So they do have their caveats. I don't know. I'm just a true believer. You guys can just put in the comments if you want. Just put 2-inch. If you're a believer, I'm a believer. I just like 2-inch doors. I mean, you can go thicker, right, for different applications. I just have good luck. I'm just an all-around. It doesn't matter the manufacturer. I just like 2-inch. 2-inch feels adequate. 2-inch feels good. 2-inch just fits the bill. I don't have to worry about screws going through it. I just like a 2-inch thick door. That's just been kind of, you know, that seems like what the old school doors were when I tore them out. You know, they got what, 1 3/4, 1 3/8. I just like the feeling of a 2-inch door. That's just my opinion. And if you got a different one, let me know in the comments. Like I said, why, or, you know, because I'm always curious. But that's just how I've always felt in my gut when I'm trying to sell stuff, or people are like, what door would you? And I, like, let's say like the Wayne Dalton comes to my mind. So you got the 8300 or you got the 85, you know, and I'm always like, I'm like, go with the 85. I don't like the bottom seal, but I'm like, it's thick. It's just a nicer, it's better insulated. It just feels right. It doesn't feel floppy. It just feels good. You know, I feel like the thicker the door when the doors come together, it's less chances for light and I guess air passage, even though air still gets through there, but it just, I don't know, I have way better luck with them. So Keith, you're right. Says, I've never had a split. Says, I've taken down old Graga and reinstalled them, no problems. Well, that's good to know. He says, I prefer my brand. He says, is it Garex? Garex. He says, because they use polyurethane instead of wood. But honestly, he says, you feel the legs bite. So South Dakota is the only other state I would move to. That's good. I'm glad you said that. But South Dakota, I think, aren't they worse than Michigan for cold? I'm waiting for Tony. He's got to get my place ready in Florida for me for the wintertime. Let's go, Tony. South Dakota, the other place I would move, but he says, I've never left Iowa if I can help it. Born here, die here. Nice. I love it. Tanner goes, smells like paint. Yeah, I'm sure if it's painted white, right? Oh, what's Rich guy? He's got chipboard. You guys ever hear it called? I call it I call it beaver spit. That's what we call a lot of stuff. I learned that from my uncle. You know, like, you know how it is, the furnitures and stuff, and tables or something that's put together, your little computer, you know, desktop thing in the corner, right? Beaver spit. It's beaver spit. That's how I look at it. JP says, hey man, he says, just found your channel and just subscribe. It looks like a cool channel. Oh, thanks, JP. Maybe that's why we finally got up to 12. We were at 10, then 11, then 12. So that's good. I just learned some things. Well, like I said, and JP, thanks for being here. The big thing is, it's a great community. We got great people here. You're more welcome. Like I said, the best thing is, you know, ask some questions, engage, put your input in. You know, it's welcome. We just we're just trying to learn and thrive and put food on the table for our families and do better. And, you know, we ask that you just kind of keep it semi-clean, you know. He says, are you a garage door guy, JP? Look at Tony jumping in there. Christmas story. Ah, thanks, Rich. Christmas story. That's right. You're gonna shoot out your eye or something, he says, or you'll shoot your eye out. What a great story. Gosh, that lamp. I don't know why I want one of those lamps. I have nowhere to put it, but I still want one of those lamps before I die. Says, Kevin's guy, he says, portrayal all my spring brackets with a self-tapper. I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin, because I do the same thing. I use a metal self-tapper, you know, the screws, and I'll booger them out a little bit to, you know, get my self-tapper. That does seem to help. But, you know, we've all been there, right? Where you get that one, and, like, you just stare at it, and it's staring at you, and you're like, I know this thing's going to split. I can just tell by the wood, and you're like, God darn it, I gotta go down and get the drill. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you don't, I even have the self-tappers sometimes. But the self-tappers, I would say, what would you say, 85, 95% of the time will do it for you. But you get that one that's right on the edge, man, and it's like, oh, it's like, if I do this and I blow this, you know what it's going to cause to fix this. You know, you got to tear this stuff down, you got to replace the board, or the customer's standing right there, sitting in their lawn chair watching you. You know, or you don't want to have a callback. That's the worst. Canadian Doorman, he says, great movie. Yes. I don't know of any. It's really weird to me. I think I forget who it was. Matt Damon, maybe? I don't remember. And I can see how Hollywood has changed, you know, but I feel like, boy, we sure don't get as good as movies. There are some real classics. That just seem like they, you know, that hold on. I really wish we did. Bummer. Tony says, it's the best movie. Pre-drill. We got you, he says, Kevin. That's right. I figured it out. Tanner, what's Tanner guy? He says, I do the same. I use, coarse drills for anything going into wood. He says track, bracket, springs, end bearings, brackets, all of it. Yeah, it's probably the right way. Like I said, there's, you know, it seems like you learn that with experience, because after you blow it up a few times, man, nobody wants to. It's so much more. It's like what I'm always trying to preach, right? Preparation, man. I tell you, it's just, life is, I feel like life is always about, I'm telling my kids, I'm always like, it's preparation. It's, everybody wants to jump in and have the fun. Everybody wants to do this. Everybody wants to do it the fast, quick, the easy way. But the preparation, right? If you don't take the time to drill out that hole, you'll blow it up. And then what's it cost you to either tear it apart now and fix it when you know, maybe you don't have a chunk of wood or it doesn't look the same, or the worst thing that's going to happen, right? The callback. And I never used to think about the callback that much, but man, as time went on and I was chasing employees and realizing they were doing certain things, they were cutting corners, or I had some subs even that were cutting corners, and it's really tough. Like, I mean, if anybody wants to put in their 2 cents on it, you're more than welcome to, because I still look at it and it's like you gotta be, you almost gotta be an inspector, right? And that's tough, especially when you run small business, because typically you need to be out producing too. But it's almost like you have to have where you, like, these guys got to call you, you know, whatever you want, 10, 20, 30 minutes before they're done. You got to drive there. And this is why I'm also a big advocate. You know how I am about this. I'm always telling you about traveling. The travel. Because if you got to go check on your guys, or they run into a problem, or they forget something, that's always that, oh, are you kidding me? Hey, man, we drove out here. We realized we're missing the top section. What do you mean you're missing the top section? You know, now you either got to have a secretary or yourself or a wife or whatever. You check. They don't know where to check, right? Maybe your shop's full. Maybe they just never even sent it. I can't believe I got this. I'm going to go get a lotto ticket. I actually got that fly. I'm just that good, I guess. I'm gonna go to the lotto ticket tonight. God darn it. I'll be darned. I never can get a fly. Unless I got the whacker or some Windex to knock the wind out of him. Well, his timing was wrong. Mine was right. It says, Dave, he says, I've had more self-tappers burn out and strip than wood legs ever fail. He says, the wood legs go in smooth and always bite. He says, Graga has been in business since 1980. Well, this is good. So it's been tried and true. Hey, maybe that's a good point. You know, has anybody ever experienced or have they noticed this? This was quite a few years ago. Me and Cap were talking about this. Like I said, this was quite a few years ago, and I don't know if I want to say it was when the cough syndrome was going around. But has anybody noticed the self tappers not holding up like they used to? The metal self tappers, through like we get ours through Service Spring. But, you know, they seem like they held up better. We go through some pretty heavy steel, you know, red steel, stuff like that. You'd burn them up occasionally, you know, but, man, it was like, it's almost like the coating on them changed. They look different a little bit, like they're more shiny, like a gold, or not gold, but chrome color. But, man, you know, they never got better. It's like they did something different. I don't know if they changed the pitch on the cutting bit or the quality, you know, because I'm a big believer. I feel like this is something Rich would add into, but I'm not going to hold you to it. Like when steel is made, let's say like red steel, I've even had galvanized steel. I've had problems where I use self tappers, and this is my theory. I'm not a metal expert, but I've had where I've been doing a certain row of stuff, drilling into metal, doing something right, and then I hit a spot on that metal, like galvanized metal, or it could be red steel. And it's like the darn bit, and you go through like 3 or 5 of them, and it's like, holy crap. However this steel is made, something here is a lot harder than it is in the other part of the steel. You know what I mean? Like how it was formed, like the iron or something is thicker in this spot than another spot. I don't know. Like you said, if something you know, add it in there. That's how I feel about it. 3-inch thick doors, Tanner says, are the best. Yeah, I mean, 3-inch are nice. They're nice. I mean, I can't say we've had them for like coolers. Like we have had certain customers with like docks, and they needed the thicker doors because that whole area is a cooler area. They keep whatever in there, just beer, all kinds of stuff. They're transferring stuff. But like I said, the 3-inch always feels a little bit bulky to me. It's you know, it is a solid door. It is a solid door. But I'm just talking to you a little bit more in general. You know, residential gets the job done. I feel like I've tore out a lot of wood doors, and they were always 2 inches thick. They've held up. Obviously, they're probably not gonna maybe last, depending if they have an eave and water splashing on them. I can't remember. Do they got a 4-inch thick door now? I feel like 3 inches like kind of like that's old news. Like feel like somebody came out with a 4-inch now. Does it level their punched angle when they hang a door? He says, I just eye it. So I level it depending on the situation. It all depends on what rafters or something. I might angle one. But I typically am pretty big about leveling. I try to level it from both ways. My angle. Oh man, Canadian Doorman says I bought a BB gun for my boy last Christmas. Oh man, it says came in a combo with an adult version, holds like 200 BBs, so it's a lot of fun. Holy cow. John Candy, he says, was the best. Yes, he was. John, I believe my mom actually has a couple chairs that came from his house. From John Candy's house, so it's pretty cool. Tanner says, I level everything. I make it as close as I can. He says, I also use DeWalt distant laser measure front track from wall. He says, move to the back. He says, mark holes. My angle matches it. Nice. Oh, we got a new guy in here. What's going on? This is it's got elite door surface. This is, we started using number 2 pine. Oh, number 2x6s for essentially everything. He says, I believe we've had maybe 1 or 2 piece burst on us. Wow. You know, something too that some people might not know. I didn't even know this. I'm a believer now. I redid I had a really long trailer. I don't think it was 21 feet long, skinny trailer for hauling door sections and stuff. Then it turned into my scrap trailer. And the wood in it got bad. I had plywood in there. It got to the point where it was dangerous for somebody to walk in there. And it was one of those things where you bring in employees, and I thought, I'll be darned if I have somebody walk in there and not walk on the trusses, and they go through the floor, and they break their leg. That would be horrible. So I decided, I said, I'm, going to spend an entire weekend. I'm going to spend an entire weekend, and I'm going to go get new boards on this puppy. So I went to Menards, and I bought treated 2x, they weren't 2x, what are they, 2x10s roughly? 2x12s, they were bigger. And I remember I got them. I installed them, all treated, right? Got it all in there. And this wasn't a true uncle, but I called him Uncle Dave. He was a friend's buddy or whatever, uncle. So Uncle Dave came over. And Uncle Dave comes over. He leans up. Now, Uncle Dave works at a lumber yard. He loads trucks and stuff. And he's always a good dude. And he looks down at the wood and stuff, and he goes, "Where'd you get this?" And I said, "Well, I got it from Menards." And he goes, "Pfft." I went, what does that mean? He goes, "Psst." He goes, "Shit won't last." And I go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Wood is wood." And he goes, "No, it's not." He goes, "It's not treated the same." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay. You know what I mean? You got me." And I was like, "Whatever." And I was like, "We'll see." Well, then a few years, maybe a couple years went by. I had a fence, 4x4 wood fence. We had a windstorm come through. It knocked over like 3 or 4 poles. Now, I put up this fence with my grandpa like 15, 20 years ago or something. You know what I mean? It's held up this whole time. Now, I know he got it from a lumber yard. So I'm, Menards is close. Go over to Menards, get myself a couple of treated, 4x4s. I put them in. I don't even think they made it 2 years, maybe 3. Darn things, another windstorm come through, right? The old ones are holding up. The new ones plopped over. And I'm like, I'm looking at the base, and they because the wind, it's like they rotted. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And these old ones that are, whatever, 25, 30 years old now. And I'm like, and these ones haven't made it 5 years. And I'm like, I'll be darned. Uncle Dave was right. So there is a difference in wood, you know what I mean? So I'm glad you brought that up. He says, usually this is perfect, depends on how good the builder are on setting their walls. Oh, I'm sure, man. I can only set. I know what you're saying, Rich. I can't say it, though. Oh, he says Tanner says they are coming from China now. Says nothing about China is good. Okay, food is good, but that's it. Oh, my wife would agree with you on that. I can eat a little bit of Chinese food. I'm not a huge. I take it over Mexican food. Tim says yes. He says I've noticed that too. He says some batches cut good. Oh, and he says then we get some takes. He says 3 or 4 self tappers to cut through. Oh, Kevin, I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, I thought, and like I said, without this community, it's like you're kind of on your own. Like you're always just going, I guess it's me. Like I don't know, maybe this is a problem. No, it's just must have been, I don't know. And like now I've literally kind of forgot about it until somebody stirred my brain up, and I'm thinking, hey, quite a few years ago, we used to buy self tappers, and man, we never even think about a drill bit. We wouldn't ever use a drill. Hey, you want a hole there? Put in a self tapper. Zoop. you know, you make your hole, do something with it. I think it was for track. It was mostly track bolts and stuff like that. You know, now it's like you're sitting there, you go through the third, the fourth, you know, self tapper, and it's like they're all getting burned up, and you're like, what in the holy crap? Get the drill, man. This is way too much work, you know. And then you got burn up a drill bit. And then I think we were even to the point, I think we ordered some through Wayne Dalton at one point, and they were better, but it was just too much of a headache to order it through them, and then how they delivered, and it's just so much more convenient to use Service Spring. But yet their product, like I said, something changed. It says true story. It says seems like certain steel has a hard spot. It says destroys screws left and right. See? Elite, I'm glad. Thank you. I thought I was the only one in the universe, because I'm always like, I'll be working on like the same piece of red steel or doing something, whatever, it's track, and it's like all of a sudden you hit a spot and you're like, what in the blue blazes is going on here? Like, why is this? And then you're like, finally, it's like you almost abandon. You're like, screw it, I'll go an inch lower, and it'll go through. And you're like, whatever's right here is super hard. Like, this is ridiculous. What Steven got? Steven says the hardness of steel is critical to machinability. HSS drills at low RPM work better than self tappers. Of course, this takes longer. Right. Totally agree. I know when I used to work for a factory. You know, I learned that obviously the slower and more pressure, and you got to add, you know, spray some oil on it. It makes everything cut better, you know. But it was just something changed with those self tappers. You would never think about it, right? Because it was like we had the innovation of impact drills, so we got the impacts, and then it was like we used the self tapper, and it's like, hey, we learned that we're like, heck, you can just use self tappers for making any kind of hole that you really need for garage door related stuff. So you just use a self tapper. And it's like, I always remember just using one. And then it was like something changed. And you know how like when you look at something, and you're like, this looks like, it was almost like the stamping changed a little bit too, but almost like there was a little burr on it versus the other ones that were more refined. And the ones from Service Spring seemed like they turned to be a little bit more chrome-like versus kind of a galvanized steel, duller look. And it was like, you know, and you're just like, whatever. And you use it, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, why am I using like, I got to use like 3 or 4. I used to just use one. Heck, I could use one and do almost 2 holes with it before I'd burn it up. So it was just one of those things I was like, it'd be nice, like if Service Spring, they'll never do it. But like one of the engineers would be like, called me up and like, hey Dave, the reason that happened is we had to use a cheaper vendor or something. You know, they're gonna be like, our stuff don't stink. It's great. You're the only one, right? Who gets that all the time? I get that all the time. You call up, I'm like, and I just want these people to be honest. I'm like, just tell me, like, because I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I'm going, like, no, you're the first ones. We haven't heard any of those problems. But then you go online, you look up at like the 7.3 Ford Godzilla motor or something, and it's like there's just forms after forms of it having problems, and you're just like, they don't know nothing about it, because they're being recorded, right? Kevin's got, he says, had the other day going into same piece of steel. Some cut like butter, others didn't cut at all. I know, isn't that crazy? I wish I had those drill bits. If anybody's got anything better than the drill bits, I really like the ones. I got addicted to them through Fastener. But the secret is Fastener charges. I don't know if you guys know what Fastener is. I don't know if that's nationwide. We have Fastener around here. It's got to be nationwide. But anyways, they got those green cases they always would have on their counters sitting there looking at you so pretty. They were like 130, 160 bucks. And man, once I got hooked on those, because I used to deal with the metal cases for drill bits, I'd fight those things all the time. And the case, the cylinder ones with a screw on top and it's plastic, they work great. Sometimes they can be a little difficult to pull out, but I got a Leatherman I carry on me, so I just take my Leatherman, grab it, pull it out. But I tell you what, I won't go back. And I can buy them. You can buy them online, and they're not that expensive. I think they're like 70, 80 bucks for. So to me, every few months, whatever. If you break one, you lose one, you chuck the case, you can keep it, give it to the neighbor, whatever. And they work great. I like them. I just love them. The metal ones, the metal cases, I've had them fling. I don't know. The metal doors, they get jammed up. I mean, a lot of you, I'm sure, have had that problem with the metal drill bits. They get jammed up and you just pry it open because you're so mad. You're like, I need a drill bit right now. Hello, Dave. Says Menards. He says Menards sells shit. Says wood. Sorry, Dave. Tony's gonna love me. I think later this week I'm doing a couple ideal doors. They didn't want to upgrade. I was trying to get them to upgrade, so we're gonna go through it. So we're gonna have I think it's gonna be the easy set as my guess. I didn't get any pictures on that part. I just figure I still got a few days to ask a few more questions. I did mention to him, I said, don't forget weather seal. They're black doors. They had them in stock, which I couldn't believe. I was like, what? It's like, they have them in stock? Black doors? 9x7s? Like, that just seems insane. But they had them in stock. They didn't want to spend the extra, whatever it was, maybe a couple $100, $200-300 to get standard torsion, operator bracket, probably a strut, better hardware. I said, okay. I said, that's fine with me. I said, makes almost better content. I said, but I just didn't know if this was going to be a forever home. And I think they said something about, I don't know what they're doing, but oh man, I cringe every time I got to do those easy set. Oh, it's like a noise that you can't ever get. Like, I have nightmares over it. Let me spray it with some oil and shut that thing up. That should fix it. Nope, they ain't gonna shut up. It's got that plastic piece in there. That's the problem. It ain't gonna shut up. I remember I felt so bad one time. I had a customer. They always want to come in, right? And they told me, I gave them a price. I knew they were shopping around. And they said, well, I can get them cheaper at Home Depot. Or they were gonna go to Menards. And I told them, I said, don't go to Menards. I said, don't go to Menards. And I wasn't thinking. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I was here. I was literally here. Phone's ringing. Employees are walking in the door. I'm like, yep. And I said, I go to Home Depot. I said, at least Home Depot, I said, the sell Clopay, a little green, right? I didn't realize, So I said, there's a little better. Okay. And plus they were trying to get a sample to match up. Mine weren't matching up perfect. I thought, I ain't screwing with this. I hate colored doors. I really do. Because I just, people want to match them to their front doors, and it just turns into a freaking nightmare. So I'm like, no, you just buy them. Anyways, they bought them from Home Depot, which is, they sell Clopay. And I didn't realize Clopay, or Home Depot, still sells that easy set crap. So I felt so bad. They got those. I thought I directed them in the right area. And I go there to install it, and I see them right there on the ground. I'm like, Mom. And I remember the first thing that customer said when he came through that door, I ran it with the opener, and he goes, why is it so noisy? And I'm like, because we are one hair of a shade off, and you wouldn't buy my damn product. You had to go buy one from the box store. That's why. Okay? And it was cheaper. That's why. So good luck. Have a nice life, and welcome to your noisy door for another 15, 20 years or whatever. End rant. Tony says, just let me know. He says, on the Florida house. He says, Dave, it's open until January. Nice. I gotta go down there when it's cold, man. When it's a blizzard up here, I want to be down there. I'm waiting for Tony's garage door service in Florida. Let's do it. I run the Florida operation. I don't know if I can deal with the heat though all year round, so I don't know. We'll have to find somebody else. Steven has got a question. Okay, let's see what it says here. It says, question. Oh man, it's coming. It says, at what weight do you balance the springs on residential garage doors? I've been rebalancing everything heavier than 10 pounds. Springs. I don't know if I quite understand the question, and I'm a little bit on the dumb side sometimes. Question, he says, what weight? So maybe if somebody in here can help answer that. What do you balance the springs on residential garage doors? I've been rebalancing everything heavier than 10 pounds. Rebalancing everything heavier. So you're adding 10 pounds to it? I mean, if you do the Service Spring app, that helps. They got the books. I'm looking at one I can see over there. It normally gets you the IPPT, gets you pretty close if you do the right weight. There is a little bit of, I think Service Spring on their app has got better where it's like you got to have the radius, the track, maybe what drum size, stuff like that. So I don't know if you're struggling with that. I don't really understand the question. I'm kind of a little bit droggy on that part. Rich says, spray the inside of tub. He says, tub on springs. Oh, I think I know what you're laying down there, Rich. So you're saying spray the inside. I don't think I'm pretty sure I've never sprayed the inside of the torsion tube part. I've sprayed the hell out of the outside. I've sprayed the bearings, and I've sprayed the drums, I've sprayed the cables, and I'm like, how do you shut these things up? And it's always, I bet they're getting that varnish on them. That's a good one. Yeah, because after it's put together, I can't get inside. Rich, what kind of oil would you recommend? Like white lithium grease, something a little heavier that stays in there longer? You don't want to use like WD, that'll evaporate, and I don't know if you can use like the Service Spring oil. Rich, man, I'm gonna do that. Dude, that's awesome. I always thought it was the plastic on the outside, and it was so taut on it, was always, that's why I was doing the noise. Man, I feel like a new man. Now I feel like, why didn't I think of that? I'm not gonna tell nobody. I thought of that. Rich did. Says, had you bought my doors, you got a 4-inch drums and not these little sissy ass things that cables cross over. Oh man, it was really entertaining. I've been interacting with this customer for, probably about 3 weeks now. And they were part of one of my experiment. And anyways, they contacted me. We've been going back and forth. And I gave them a price. And they were like, what did they say? I think there was like, you were like $200 or $300 higher. And I'm like, let's put on the thinking cap here. So I went into Menards, and that's all changed. So that was kind of suckfest, because I go in there, they don't have the mill works anymore. It's like it's either in the building, or you got to go, I think, to the kitchen area or something, cabinets. They'll help you there too. So I went to the building part, talked to the guy. Basically, after I seen he's just on a computer, and he's just like, and I kind of know more. He can go through the computer faster than I can, but I'm like, no, I don't want that. I was like, I want regular torsion. I was like, operator bracket, we won't do side lock on this one. I was like going through it. I want the better hardware. The price was the same or even a touch higher than my price. And what's the caveat to it that I've forgot over the years, because when I used to do roofing and stuff like that too, went to the checkout with this thing. So now by the time you add tax, and it's going to be delivered to you, right? I'm bringing it if it's my door or whatever. It's like, okay, So honestly, I'm probably $200 cheaper or $300 or $400 cheaper, because by the time you do the math, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, but you're getting a more inferior product. I don't even know if it came with a strut at all. And I'm sure the one is not going to have a strut. I don't think it's going to have a strut. I think we're going to be using a little operator bracket. I don't know, because it's got an older opener there. and I was going to try to coast them into possibly, which it still might happen. I didn't get to see the other side. But I said, hey, I said, honestly, and I'm kind of doing it. You know, I wanted to do this kind of to experience it like a new person, right? Like I'm trying to do it as like, I'm new to this. I'm a rookie. And, and it's easier, right? Because I told them, I said, if you go to the box store, I said, it's easier for me. I said, because they were all like, you know, we can haul them. We can go get them. It's going to be this. So I'm like, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go get those doors. Go get those doors. Go get those doors. Yes. And when I open them up and they're scratched and they're dented, I'm going to go, oh, that don't look good. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. You better call. Don't call my secretary. Don't, no. You call Menards. You call Menards. And then they figure out. They give you a discount. They give you another door section. I come back. Oh, I come back. I charge more. Yep, labor, gasoline, wear and tear on vehicle. Yes, I don't do it for free. You know, but if it's mine, right, then it's like they look at you and they go, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about this? This ain't right. I spent all this money. What are you going to do? I'm like, I'm a horrible person. What did my vendor do? What happened here? I'm sorry. That's sometimes how I feel. That's why I'm going to start selling cookies and lemonade on the corner. And if they don't like it, I'm going to throw it in their face and say, go somewhere else. I'll give you back your 10 cents. He says, you know, customer's going to be it. She says, he says, those are noisy. Man, they are noisy too, man. I tell you. But like I said, I think Rich is on some. So there you go, guys. We got a pro tip from Rich today. I think he's right. I'm going to definitely try it. I'm going to try putting some lube in there. This is spring inside tube. He says on the spring. He says, I bought doors and crossover Tony. Is it, I'm going to call you boy. The last part. Is it proper boy? I'll say boy. He says, hey, the other day you mentioned your favorite episode of, is it Aqua Teen Hunger Force? Which was it again? I don't know. Episode of, I don't know. I don't know if that was me. I don't remember anything about this. You're gonna have to jog my memory. Tony says, coming soon. All right, let's do it. Can I be your apprentice, Tony? It says, sorry, he says, meaning on a maintenance call. He says, when the springs guy tried, add a few quarter turns. Right across 3. So I'm thinking, Steven, on yours, you said, sorry, meaning the maintenance call. When the spring guy tried, he says they add a few quarter turns. So I don't know if this is it, Steven. But what I'm thinking, something in my brain, I don't know if anybody ever tried this. I had a guy that used to work for me. He's a pretty smart guy. And he always told me, he goes, I'm surprised nobody doesn't make ever, maybe magnetized, but maybe, yeah, probably want to magnetize. But he says like counterweights that go in a garage to balance it out. Like if you're off, add weight to it to some degree. And I thought, and I kind of, my brain at the time probably was like, that's kind of silly. But, you think about it and change, if you somehow, how it happens. Sometimes you order the wrong springs or something comes in. But if the door had another 10 or 20 pounds on it, it would balance out right. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, or if anybody's ever got any pictures of it. But that's something to think about. But I still don't know. Like I said, started meaning the maintenance call. He says when spring guy tried, add a few quarter turns. I don't know if they have an opener. Has anybody? This is Keith. Has anybody ran across 3 spring pack for a wood garage door? 3 spring pack? I don't think I've ever seen that. He says, I have not come across this before. I don't know if it's because I've seen where people, I've done it. I was a naughty boy. I put 2 spring bearing plates on there, and I used 2 of the same springs because that's all I had, and I was really far away. You know what I mean? Because I had like 2 left-hand springs, and they were supposed to be a left and a right. I was like, it's fine, it's fine. I was like, it's fine. I can't see it from my house. It's fine. It works. Gotta get paid. You know? So I don't know if this 3 spring is like somebody's oof or if that's a normal thing for like a wood door. It says tube. He says just the door oil. That's what Rich says. Hopefully we're on the same page, Rich, because I'm really thinking, like I said, I've oiled the crap out of those things. And there's nothing you can do except, I think, at least what you mentioned, or at least now what I'm thinking, though, is when the spring's apart, and they got that plastic, because, you know, with those, now I don't know if this is true. This is what I've been told. I was told, this was quite a few years ago, I was told by Service Spring cannot make those springs. Because I had one break one time, and I was like, I'm not going to go to Menards, or Menards didn't have it in stock. And so I called Service Spring, and they were like, we can't make that spring. We can do conversion, which I'm like, I know. I was trying not to do a conversion because obviously by the time we do a conversion, you know, we're talking whatever, $300, $400, $600, depending on whatever. And that obviously changes across the country. But, you know, so so they marry you in, right? They're marrying into their product. That's what they're trying to do. And that's what all these companies are trying to do. Because I think does anybody know what the one's called for AMAR? AMAR was really weird. I seen one of their contraption one time. I think I only did one. It was I don't even know if I was the one that installed it, but I seen it and I was like, ooh. I told my technician guy or whoever, I said, good luck. I said, I don't even know how the hell that thing works. And it was a weird contraption. I think he said it went okay, but I don't know what theirs is called, if there's a name for it, for the AMAR or right built. I don't know if they called that a certain assembly or something. But it's like they were getting on the bag magnet. It's kind of like the Wayne Dalton has a Torque Master, right? It's the same thing to get you married into. And that's why I was trying to keep this customer, because I was trying to tell her, like, I said, either you pay now or you pay later, because I know how it's going to be. Somebody's going to come in there later on if they're a garage door guy, and they're going to go, that crap's got to go. You know, and it's going to be $300-$400, and the person's going to cry and be like, my car just broke down. This is horrible timing, because it's never good timing. And, you know, so I was like, hey, let's just go with some good stuff. But they didn't want to. I said, okay, that's fine. Tony's got something here. He says, Steve, when I go to do a service call, he says, I hook the door from the operator. He says, if the door falls to the floor, he says, 1 of 2 springs, either the wrong springs or not enough tension. Very true. Very true. I've seen a lot of guys struggle. I had even my business partner at one time. They didn't want to take the extra steps, and it's all that thing again. I tell you guys, it's all, you know, you understand this. It's preparation. Some guys don't want to do it, right? They don't want to. When you do springs and stuff like that too, you really should tear off the chain off the opener, because that opener can manipulate you on a commercial door. I'm talking jack shaft. It can manipulate the feeling of that door. So there's been times, just every situation is different. You know what I mean? And different openers react differently, but sometimes if I get into a situation, I'm pulling all the stops out. I rip the chain off the opener, screw it. I'm going to probably mess up the limits, or they're going to be semi-closed, but I'll have to tweak them a little bit. But it's so much more worth it because I want to feel the door in free motion. I want to feel the door. What is this door doing? This door is going to talk to me. This door and me are going to meditate. We are going to kiss. And so you got to feel the door out. But Tony's right. You know, if you get to a job, something's not right, it's jumping chain. you know, there's a lot of things that go into play. And hey, I've done it, you know, I've had a spring that was off a little bit, and it's like, you know what, it's going to go on here. You know what I mean? And not to the point of being detrimental or coming down and killing somebody, but it's been off. It wasn't right. You find out after the fact, you know, when you're like in the scissor lift is always a good part, right? You know, when you've got the new spring, got the old spring, you flop it down, you're like, oh, why is that 3 inches shorter? What the hell? You're like, well, I'm not reordering that thing. That's $1,200 sitting down there. That ain't gonna happen. But what I do, which is a pro tip for maybe some people out there, I will write my name if it's not visible in a sense, because I don't want to be rude to a customer. It's got a beautiful building, but I'll write or put on a tag. I'll write notes up there, and I'll initial it, and I'll say what I did, and I'll say that the old springs, and then I'll even feel out the door, and maybe the door is just perfect, and I'll say, you know, door runs good with the existing springs, or I would go back to the, you know, something was off, add 4 inches. You know, I try to put a love note up there for the next guy, because the next guy could be me. But if it is not me, I still rather the next person, you know, when the springs break, get the right ones. You know what I mean? So that's just something to do to help the next person out. You know, heck, even if you got to put a note up there and say, I put a love note for you in the opener. I don't know, whatever you want to do. That's why I normally always carry a permanent marker on me. Just a door. Ooh, you guys got all kinds of stuff. Liftmaster guys, Canadian. He says hello. Hope you're doing good. Hope you had a good 4th of July. You guys don't do 4th of July, do you? Oh, I don't know. Not in Canada. What do they do? Do you get 4 days off? We got 4 days off. Tony says the door should always stay up when unhooked, and from the operator it does move down. It does move down tension. Hello. Tony, you do have weight. He said, Dave, it's called a strut. Just add a strut. It's a good idea. I like it. For some reason, he was always thinking about, maybe somebody will invent it. It was something to go like in the bottom of the section, you know, like a little round weight. But I think it was like magnetized. And the strut's good, but what if it's got struts on it? You know what I mean? So you add another one, it looks funky, it looks off. So, I mean, but that's a good point. Strut is a good idea. Maybe just add multiple slide locks. Sir, had a customer looking for a remote for a Wayne Dalton Quantum. You got to put Quantum Drive. That's what they always said on them, right? Quantum Drive. I can already imagine it. It was yellow. It's got it's red or black, but it's got the yellow on it. Quantum Drive. When I mentioned this is the Facebook groups. He says the text said to replace it. Thoughts? I feel like it was a bear. I had to have my wife help me because I was getting frustrated. Because this is a great question. The lift mat or the Quantum Drive, my grandpa had 2 of these. My grandpa was a cheap ass. And he was a mean dude too. But I remember he bought 2 of them for his place up north. And I remember one day and this is always the fun part about being a garage door person, because people always want free stuff, you know. And anyways, he told me, he says, hey, he goes, I got a problem with my opener, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, Grandpa. I'm like, well, I'll come up there and take a look. So I go up there and he's talking to me and he goes, well, here's the problem. He goes, this one doesn't do it, but this one just hums. And it did, man. It hummed loud. And I told him, I said, man, Grandpa, I said, I think I'd unplug it, man. I said, I'm worried about that thing catching on fire. I said, the way it's humming. He goes, well, that's why I had it unplugged. And I said, well, he goes, do you think I could go to Menards? Because he got them from Menards. He goes, think I go to Menards and get another one and just stuff that one in the box? And I'm like, maybe. I'm like, but don't call me. You know what I mean? So anyways, he lived with it. His health declined. That one just was like, my grandpa's, you know how it is. One of those grandpas. Garage is full of stuff. Can't park in there. All kinds of tools, lawnmowers, everything you can think of under the sun. And anyways, He never used that stall. Well, the other one, he needed a remote. And I was like, I don't know for sure, because I don't think it says in the literature for the universal remote. The, what is it, the 38, or is it 380 UT? I can see one. It doesn't say it does the quantum drive. I was like, I don't know. So I went up there, I fussed with that thing. I was getting upset. Wife was with me, thank goodness, and I was like, here. I was like, you try this. I'm trying everything, and I, you know, and she got it to program. So maybe the 380 UT, you know, but I don't know if I'd spend too much time on it. That's what I'm saying. Those things were, Menards was when, that's when I learned about Menards switching their products. And I think a lot of manufacturers are doing this, because I was parked and a guy seen my truck, you know, and he stopped and he goes, hey, you do garage doors? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I got a Wayne Dalton garage door opener. And I went, ugh. First thing I said, you know, I just went, ugh. Those things are junk. And I mean, the guy just kind of looked at me and I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You know, that was kind of rude. And he goes, you know what? He goes, the guy inside said the same thing. He goes, and he said, that's why they don't sell it anymore. And I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, you're probably better off replacing it. And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, I'll have to figure something out. Well, that was what triggered it. It wasn't all of it, but that's what triggered it in my brain, where I started going, Menards is selling cheap products. They only sell it for 5 years. They changed the product, right? Because think of all these people now. They came in, made it's so much easier for their employees to go, Wayne Dalton, we haven't sold those in years, but we sell this new Master Force. You can buy this. Now that guy's got to go home. He's got to stew about it. He's going to look for the cheapest product, and Menards has got it. And so it's only going to last another 5 years, and they're going to get rid of that product. He's going to come back, the cycle. But thanks, LiftMaster guy, for bringing that up, because I think that's important. So, but if it was me, I'd probably lean away. I can't make money on remotes, so I just would kind of just, you know, for the customer's sake. You know, there's always that fine line. You guys know what I'm saying? There's always that fine line of your you know, you're like, I gotta put food on the table at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying, but I will help you. Like, I'm one of those type, like, I will help you until the sun goes down. If you want to do a FaceTime, or you want to do a phone call or a text or pictures. But if I got to drive out there and I got to screw this thing, and it, you know, there's nothing worse than defeat, you know, and like, you're like, now what do I do? This thing doesn't work. Do I charge them? Do I not charge them? Does anybody ever feel that way? That's how I feel. Like, I'm like, I can't charge them. It didn't work. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what am I supposed to be? Well, it's going to be $120 still, but you didn't even get it to work. Yeah, I know. But I've had plumbers do that to me, and it doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? They come out, charge $170. One guy tells me, I think there's ice in it. Well, is there ice in it, or is it not? You're going to have to call somebody with a camera. Shouldn't you have a camera? Are you the plumber? Call a guy with the camera for the plumbing. He comes out. Yeah, it's frozen. They still don't fix it, though. And then I got to come home after working a hard day hanging doors, 8, 10 o'clock at night, and go to the hot water tank, get hot water to flush down the toilet, you know, the 4-inch line, to unplug it because it's frozen. And I'm thinking, nobody could have figured this out? Like, I mean, I called these people willing to pay them money. Like, they could have charged me $600. I didn't care. I need the toilet to flush. I got babies. I got a secretary. I got kids. I got family. I need this toilet to flush. You know? Steve, he says, springs always lose tension after initial install. Just add a few more to get it back to normal. I'm glad Canadian Doorman brought that up, because I've heard that theory, and I do believe there is a little. I believe that. I believe there is some truth to it. To what extreme it is, that'd be an interesting video. If somebody ever had something that they did, you know, the time, and then did actually calculations, maybe after 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years, what has a spring relaxed to? Because I've always kind of heard that too. That was always what I've heard through other just people. You know, it was like, hey, leave it a little hot because it's going to relax. I'm more trying to hit it right on the nose. Especially like my brain's going to residential, because I always think about the J-arm. And the way I always explain it is I always tell like technicians or customers, I go, think about trying to push that door, you know, up there in a J-arm. But I said, think about how easy it is to pull it. To pull it back is better. So I either kind of keep it balanced, or Normally just balanced. I don't really want to leave them heavy because I don't want them to rip off the opener bracket. But I've had more problems with residential garage doors pushing than I ever have with pulling, if that makes sense. But like I said, I always think of it as a J-arm and think about your arm, right? I can pull like a mad dog this way, but if you want me to push this way, that's tough. Tony says, I've added a third spring to a door to make it work better. Interesting. Man, I mean, that seems like a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like tear that down and then to gamble. Like, how do you get that calculation? Like, that throws me a little bit. To me, it's always just, you got to go one spring or two springs. But to do a third in the calculation, I guess you could do it, right? The IPPTs. If you still weighed the door and you didn't have enough. I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way. And if there's a Tony, there's always a way. Elite says, we had to go in behind some of our competition in the area and add some struts to door in order to balance it. Okay. He says they just throw whatever they got, collect payment, and gone. I understand that. I see that happening a lot in a sense because there's just people that, you know, I don't know how they sleep at night. Honestly, you got to think of I think of these guys as kind of like the Stanley Steamers. You know how these people come in, they give you that sales pitch. Sometimes there's like roofers. Have you ever had like the commercial roofer? Not commercial, but the I don't know if you guys have like Hanson's. We have Hanson's out here that advertises, 1-800 Hanson's, or who's another one? Not Red Roof, but Mr. Roof. They give you a whole sales pitch. They'll give you, easy payments for 6 years. Kevin says, quantum opener junk sound like garbage dispenser. He says, yeah. He says with forks stuck in it. He says, not sure how much of quantum stuff available. Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of like the iDrive. The iDrive was really hard to find too, the Wayne Dalton. Sometimes, you try to find the original ones. Like I looked, I was going to buy some for somebody, maybe my grandpa even. Another problem I've had, and that's why I'm not going to lie, I get a little shaky thinking about the quantum drive because I forgot. Do some of you remember how they had the hook that would go into the trolley? And then there was like the disconnect, and the disconnect would try to pop it, but it worked like garbage, like Kevin says, garbage. And so the problem is, you go out there and you touch that, and then it just seems like it never fails, right? It's going to be a week or 2 weeks later, they're going to lose power. And then they're going to call you and they're going to go, we can't get out. And it's going to be 5 o'clock on a Friday. You just sat down, you're having a beautiful dinner with your lovely girlfriend or wife or what, and they're going to be, we can't get out. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's because that stupid quantum drive, the disconnect on it's horrible. It ain't like a Chamberlain where it just pops and disconnects, and you're like, babe, like, up. And she's like, what? You're gonna? I just did. This lady, she said she's got condos. She's gonna hook me up with. So I'm getting like 20 more jobs. Can we leave? Yeah. So I just that's why I look at it, and it's like I just go. That's where I kind of put it back on like the homeowner, and I'm like, you probably could, and I will help you. And do you have a grandson, or he can try to program it or something? But I am not touching this because once money exchanges here, now we have had a contract, and now you think like anything, or the light bulb quits working, or the covers were notorious, I think, on those for falling off. So I've had those where it's like you got to duct tape them back on basically because they just are really fragile. So I look at it and I go, I don't want nothing to do with that thing. You know what I mean? All I do, I've been thinking about, now I'd really love your guys' opinion on this since we've made it so far into this. This has been great. Do you think I'm crazy? You guys put it in the comment, but this is what I'm thinking. I was telling Cap this. I'm trying to give him some tips. And I was telling him about all we do is replace. We don't repair, we just replace. With garage door openers. I'm talking residential, because I keep seeing this problem, and I keep seeing it with you guys too a little bit. Some of the comments you guys are throwing in there on some other videos and stuff. And I keep going to, I think we've gone to the Bic lighter, and nobody repairs Bic lighters. I've never seen anybody in my life go, I'll fix that thing and refill it, and I use this thing, and it's my, but like a Zippo lighter, they'll fix and repair and put new wicks or whatever is in there, the lighter stuff, more fluid. I think these openers have just gotten so cheap that it's just throw them away. I know that they are that way. We live in a disposable world now, right? If your marriage don't work, just throw it away. If your opener doesn't work, throw it away. If the fridge quits working, throw it away. Don't repair it. And I think from a business aspect, because I seen this with a couple, we were just talking about, they'll send you parts all day long. These companies, like I think Genie's really good about it. Like they'll send you parts, but that doesn't always fix the problem. And so in my mind, I go, if you got a problem, we got to go out there and just change out the head. We got to go out there and change out the unit. And I know this is not 100%, but I just feel like it would eliminate a lot of burden on employees. I feel like it would eliminate it on the secretary, that if somebody calls and goes, my opener's making a weird noise, and this is the stuff where they got to do their due diligence, right? Take some pictures. Can you send me a little video? And I think a lot of this could be eliminated, where it's like, it looks like the opener is having, obviously the chain's not moving. And I know it sounds like, you guys let me know on the new LiftMasters, right? What is failing on the new LiftMasters? It used to be obviously with the older LiftMaster, the gear kit, right? And I even look at it and I go, the gear kit is you used to be able to do the gear kit and feel pretty solid on it. But there was always a little caveat on those mechanical limits. If you didn't scrape those limits off, sometimes it would lose limits or start bucking. But in my mind, I just go, as a business, I just go, there's no more, we're going to put a circuit board in it. Because circuit boards are what? They're like 80, 120 bucks. It's like, you can go buy an opener, and I think kind of from the box store, for 165, 200 bucks. And I just go, to me, I go, and then everything's new. And then everything's like a warranty. And then everything is, I'll bring it back if it don't work. So I don't know. I'd like your opinion on it. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. It says, yeah, in the case, it seems justified. Those openers sucked anyways. The Quantum openers were very, like, sometimes they last 5 years. Sometimes they last 20 years. It was like they were just, it depended on when they were built. Some were built on Wednesdays, some were built on Fridays. That's how it felt. Oh, Kevin's guy, he says if the LED don't light up, he says probably the circuit board. Ooh, got it. Boxing Day, love it. LiftMaster, to answer your question, Dave, we do July 1st. We also do fireworks and barbecue. Nice. Some barbecue sounds pretty good right now. I'm getting a little hungry. Tony's got LiftMaster guy. He says it's 15 years old. He says I tell him to get a new one unless they have multiple things wrong. He says it's going to cost more than a new one. Yeah, I'd have to agree. Totally have to agree. Canadian says, what's the best / most reliable opener ever made in everyone's opinion? Ooh, this is a good one. I like that. I'm going to put out what was it? My first one that comes to mind is that one that's like a 3000. What is it though? It's the front Alistair. It's the Alistair for residential. We should clarify that a little bit. Most reliable opener ever made in everyone's opinion. Are we talking commercial? Not commercial. I mean residential. Let's just keep it residential. Let's keep it residential. If anybody's still putting it in there. Anything, honestly, in my opinion, anything with a belt, a physical belt in there, were very good openers. This old Sears, just seems like those old ones with those belts, man, they just last forever, it seems like. Canada is a big door. I've seen price of extension kits for openers here. Maybe I get a deal on an 8365 with 10 foot from my local dealer. Oh, Tony says, smart move, Mr. Guy. That's what I would do. 83.65 is what I sell. I guess it's 83.650. Oh, now it's changed, of course. They always change their numbers around. Extension kits. He says, my solid rail LOS says 81.65 is cheaper. Comes with one light instead of two. And only one remote. Same HP though. Nice. Liftmaster Guy says, do most dealers just sell the rails? Do most dealers? That's a good question. I think that can kind of go a little deeper. Liftmaster Guy, what do you pay for the 80? What is it? It says 83650. I don't, Liftmaster Guy, I'm trying to think about when you said, do dealers sell the rails? Because that was always one thing. It was shipping on those was really tough. So I was like, it was almost like I was like, I could buy the heads. You could sell heads across the world, right? The head units, but I don't know. I'm sure that's not what you were. This is 8365 is good deal if they want 2 remotes and keypad. I don't even screw around. I think I've mentioned this before. Some of you guys know this, you know what I mean? But I just don't screw around. To me, every opener, 2 remotes, outside keypad. And that would be all I'd ever want to see go out the door. That's it. I don't care if they got multiple doors too, unless you change the remotes around. I have, you know, maybe if they got 2 buttons or something, but in my mind, the customer is always paying for 2 remotes, outside keypad. You know what I mean? That way it's covered. Like I said, I don't care if they take the outside keypad and they don't want it and they want to throw it in the junk drawer. I don't care if they throw it in the garbage, but that's what they're going to get. That's what they're paying for. At least it's covered. So for the business aspect of it, for the technician, for the employees, for the subcontractor, for a customer coming in the door that wants one. Everything is always 2 remotes, outside keypad. And everything else is byproducts. It's like when they give you extra screws in there and you're like, I don't need these extra screws. I throw them in the garbage. Good, take the keypad and throw it in the garbage. It was paid for. That's the biggest thing. Because otherwise, when it's people are coming and they're taking remotes and they're taking keypads and you're like, why do you need? Well, the customer wanted. And it's like, did they pay for that? Well, yeah, I think so. Well, what's your name's going to bill them for it? Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And then there's 20, there's 40 bucks, you know, 60 bucks that's out the door that you don't know if you're ever getting covered. Are they just up front it? And like I said, and it's just some reason people in their minds, I always feel like they just, you know, I mean, I just cannot tell you how many times I've gone to a customer and I hand them 1 remote, right? Because they wanted a deal or they wanted, you know, and they're like, I mean, they look at you like a thief. They're like, where's the second one? I'm like, you only got 1 car. You told me you're retired and you're 90 years old and you're the only person that lives here and I got you a deal on this. And well, I want one I want to put on my window ledge and by my kitchen, you know. Okay. Well, sir, or ma'am, you know, that's going to be another, you know, $40 or $60, you know, and they're like, $40 or $60, you know, you know what I mean? Where it's like, when it's a package, they cost you like, this feels like 10 or 20 bucks. And it's just there, you know what I mean? Cheap insurance, kind of like light bulbs. Light bulbs are included, you know what I mean? Just light bulbs, they're done. I guess so many people I've had over the years come, I got this one out of my lampshade. I guess I'll have to go to the store later. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, you go to screw it in, it goes flink. And you're like, oh, this one don't work. You got another one? I can go look in my son's bedroom, but I don't know. Oh. Canadian Doorman, he says, don't want it, just throw it in your truck. He says he'll sell it later. Tony says, I love free product to make money off of. Says Tony Miller, he says, I'm not sure. I've never bought an opener from my local dealer. I usually just whatever from Home Depot. See? There's another one, the Liftmaster guy. I'm telling you. I really think, I don't know if they're going to try it. I told Cap, I said, hey, I said, all the problems, all the changes. I said, I'd just do it. I said, I'd try it. I said, I'd just buy them. Buy them from the box stores. Try it. Call around until I find a guy that will sell me one. Mr. Guy, do you have a supplier? What do you pay for 8365? Tony, can you know? I'm only doing this part-time right now. Nice. Nice. Says Tony, says Liftmaster guy, what guy with my Spire, if I buy 32 or more, I get them for 231 for a 7-foot. Not bad. It's a good price. Kevin says, Alistair, type 2. I'm right with you. Those things were just, looking back at how many I tore out, wasn't really thinking. I feel bad. I'm like, man, those things were just, normally it was just always a limit that'd fall off or something. If someone said genie, block them. Honestly, I'm trying to think. I guess there was some old genies. I can't say they were good. The one I think about is the one that had the spring and the screw in the back, like the nut. I remember my wife, her parents, my in-laws, old house had the one that had like a weird clock thing to it. Like you had to turn the screw to make it hit the limit in the back. It was a pilot. It reminded me of a vacuum cleaner. You know what I mean? I guess they still look like vacuum cleaners, just new, more modern. But yeah, I can't remember any like. I guess the only one I do think that was semi-okay genie-wise, the trolleys were very prone, but the screw drives, they were pretty simple, right? They had the limits. You could tell the limits flicking. I wouldn't say they were great units, but I just kind of look at them and the simplicity of them. They seemed like they were okay. I still remember as a kid, them advertising how quiet they were, being like, it seemed like when that screw drive came out, I feel like, am I wrong with this, guys? I was pretty young, but I feel like they were advertising how quiet those were. Like they're like, oh, the new screw drive is just so silent, and they're really promoting silent. Well, I tell you what, I had, I think 2 of them, maybe just one underneath my bed at my dad's house. And they would go early in the morning, 6, 8 o'clock in the morning, and go to the store, grocery store. And that thing was underneath my bed, man. And I could tell you what, I always knew when they left, and I always knew when they came home, because I would sleep in. And man, that thing, and I always thought in my head, that was even before I did garage doors, and I kept thinking, I swear they advertised this as being so silent. And I thought, it is the loudest freaking opener I've ever, I think chain drives were even quieter and smoother than those screw drives were. The greatest motor was the Legacy motors. Nice. Everything nowadays is a roll of the dice. That is true, man. Cheers to that. Seems like stuff's changing so much you can't even keep up. And I believe, I'm pretty positive, Rich buys them from the box store. And I just think, honestly, I hate to say it, but I was like, I feel like that's what they should do. Because I still to this day, I can't remember anybody ever going, you know why I used you? And trust me, I want to install a good product, right? But I also need to make a paycheck. And I look at it now and I go to this box store, buy a Chamberlain or a Genie, whatever you prefer, whatever technology you want, or if they purchase it, I still don't know exactly how, if it'd be more or less, I think it's more like you should purchase it, like we should purchase it. And I don't know what to do with the receipt, but I feel like the receipt should be left to the customer to some degree, or somehow, so it can be warranted or warranted if it needs to be. But here's the price. Here's my price to install it. If there's a problem, throw that puppy right back in the box. You take it back, because it's become such an inconvenience that if you have any problems, at least for us over in this neck of the woods, none of them will take it back. It's like you got to go through LiftMaster, where it used to be when we get them through Wayne Dalton, you could just send them back and they would refund you, or they'd send you another one. And they don't do it anymore. You got to have the RGA. They'll send you parts all day long, but sometimes that doesn't fix it. And how many times can you go out there to the point where you're not losing money? And we've done RPM sensors, we've done circuit boards, we've done certain things in them that still doesn't fix it. And it's like you're chasing your tail. So do you have an inferior product? you know, because you know how that goes with circuit boards. You could put another circuit board in it because they could have sent you a bad one, or it got zapped again, or whatever, you know. And you're just like, but if you got a whole new unit, typically you're like, something's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like I've never had it where I've gone to a third unit and it's still been bad. Maybe a second, but not a third. So and the box stores don't care. You just throw it back on their cart and go, I'm gonna go grab another one. You know what I mean? And now you're taking out all that secretarial work. You've taken out, I feel like, a lot of steps, and it might be more beneficial. Can't say for sure. Haven't been proven yet. So I have to agree, Dave. The old Alster, he says, with a 32-290 belt. Yeah, they were just, that's just the first one, you know, and even some, so there's some other brands out there too that were okay, you know, but I just think anything with a true belt in it just seemed like it lasted so much longer than those plastic gears. Plastic gears are always what do you get, 10, 12, 15 years, and they get chewed up if nobody goes in there and greases them. Canadian says, look, Mr. Guy, my supplier is Canadian wide. He says, great place to deal with if you get busier. Nice. I don't know. I don't even know what I'd recommend. If I was starting out and I didn't have a supplier, I feel like whoever you can find as a supplier. The biggest thing is like for me, obviously we couldn't use Canada because unless they're going to pay for shipping, and they're going to give us just a phenomenal, which they'll lose money, you know. But it's so much nicer if you have somebody that you can just, like, especially openers, like if you could put something in a box, you got somebody that'll take it back, they'll refund you or give you the money. That's the big thing, you know. But nowadays it's changed, and it's just not, they're not doing that. Says these days are putting in too much on the board. Tony, is this Tony? Let's see if Tony, this is Tony. Too much on the boards are going out a lot faster. They need to go back to mechanical limits and force. Boy, Tony, you might be onto something there. I never really thought about it that way, but something, man. It's like we've gone away from the basics, right? The door just opening and closing. Instead, it's like, oh, look at what my opener can do. It can read, you know, it can tell Amazon's here. It can read that read the newspaper for you. It can tell you that there's a car parked in here. It can tell you if the door. I mean, it's like, I feel like we're selling too much on all these bells and whistles. And then yet we're the ones getting stuck with the baggage because the customer's calling us going, hey, the door quit working. You're like, what do you mean the door quit working? Because, like, if they tell me the camera, I could really care less. But it's like if they go, well, you know, my door won't go down, and, you know, we got some valuable stuff in here, right? They always put that pressure on you. I don't know if it's direct or not direct, or it's just truthful or whatever. You know, some customers are just a little more manipulating than others. You know, because I've had that before where they, you know, it's, well, we got valuables in here. We live kind of in a bad area. And I'm like, you live in the best area that I know, you know? And I'm like, okay, I'll get somebody out there for you, take a look at it. And they always throw it on you. You know, well, I thought you sold me something good. You know, I thought, you know, and you're like, well, you know, the stuff has kind of changed. It's kind of like when that whole, I've said it before, but the HomeLink and the openers and the auto manufacturers were colliding, and I was doing good, baby. I was doing good. Never had no problems. I get to this one, and like I said, the place that I went to install this was like 2.5 hours one way. I go there, I install it. I'm like, why isn't this? And the guy's like, can you program it to my car? And I'm like, yeah, not a problem. You know, something changed, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? I've done this like 100 times. I'm like, why is this not programming? And then I'm like, so finally I had to call tech support, and tech support is like, oh yeah, you're gonna need a repeater, and if he buys it, it's this, and if you want it shipped, it's another $60 or $80. And I'm like, oh great, you know. So I mean, the guy's a big dude, right? And you don't know the situation you're ever gonna run into. And I'm like, the guy, I mean, literally just snatches the opener the remote out of my hand, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, so you're gonna have to like buy this repeater? And I mean, he's like looking at me like I'm trying to like scam him. And he goes, so you mean to tell me, he says, my opener from 1982 that could link to my car, this new one can't do it? And I'm like, about ready to cry. You know, I'm like, yes, sir. I'm like, those stupid lobbyists and manufacturers screwed the whole world up. And like, I'm just like, but I'm like, if you want, and he's like, just snatch it. That's fine. He goes, I'll just put it on my visor. He says, I don't need it anyways or something. You know, just upset. I leave totally with a, you know, tail between my legs. Like, man, I feel like such a loser. I feel like I really let this guy down. You know, I didn't even know this existed. So that's what concerns me about this stuff, where it's like I go, who are you doing this to benefit? You, Mr. Vendor, or the installer? Like it's that whole. I like what Rich. It's a roll of dice. It's a casino. You know, you know, and so I look at it and I go, maybe we should consider the box stores, and that way at least you can dump it on them. You don't got 2 or 5 or 10 openers sitting in the corner that you got to go through. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's like if a technician's leaving that door with that truck, with the knucklehead drivers that are out there in the world, I go, hey man, you got to conquer it. You go out there, you got to kill something and drag it back home. So if you're going out there, you need to bring another head unit, and you got to switch out the head. Like, you got to switch the head. Like, you cannot come back with, well, I called tech support, and tech support said this, and they're not going to send us a new one until we send the old one back in, or we can buy one. Buy one? What do you mean? What? You know what I mean? And then you go back, and this goes on for 3, 4, 6 weeks that you're going up there, and the customer's ticked. You know what I mean? I just can't do that, you know? And I've had them before, the vendors, they go, well, you need to carry, we only got you need to carry 3 different circuit boards on your truck. And I'm thinking, 3 different circuit boards? And when I'm running 7 trucks, and I'm like, you ever been in these trucks? You ever go down a dirt road? You ever go down just the Michigan roads that are potholes? You know, I'd have to buy one of these. Padded. I have to buy one of these for like every circuit board, right? Every padded. I have to put every circuit board in here. And don't put this in a wet spot, you know? So we got it, and then who knows if that's even going to fix it. Maybe it needs an RPM sensor. Maybe it needs another chunk of wire or something in there. You know? It just changed the damn head unit out. For new motor installed. Ooh, good question. I think our ranges for prices, roughly residential 7 foot, they range anywhere from like, I think they're right around the $600 to $800 installed for like a LiftMaster. I think they got the Genies they keep for the kind of the cheaper end of it. But we reverted back over to LiftMaster because Genie had a bad batch of RPM sensors. We don't know how long that's going to go. We haven't had no problems, but we've had tons of callbacks because these RPM sensors, something they tighten them too much or whatever, and they are failing. Now, I gotta ask this. Somebody, I don't know, I think this was Cap that was telling me. I don't think it was one of you guys. Does LiftMaster have built-in surge protectors? I always know over the years, LiftMaster has always been a little bit better up to brownouts or power outages or lightning strikes. You give them enough, they will zap. I've always known in the back of my head, Genies are a little more susceptible. So anytime I heard somebody go, well, we lost power, or we had a lightning strike in the tree right out there, and I'm like, so then, you know, they don't normally tell you got to play detective, right? So I go, did anything else in the house? And they go, well, actually our microwave and our TV, but that was it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just explain this to you. Like the opener is shot. You know what I mean? And I typically don't even do like the circuit board. I'm just like, you're going to have to replace, you know, you replace your microwave, right? You're going to replace the TV. You know, you're going to have to replace the opener. You know, hopefully insurance, maybe it'll cover it. You know, blah, blah, blah. Canadian Dory says, I agree, Tony. He says, too much technology sucks. It's just like vehicles. I know, I feel like I want to go back to the old crank windows. I can't do crank. I like my power windows and power locks, but the rest, I don't need the heated steering wheel, or, you know, my wife's car is nice with heated seats, but I can live without. Same here too. Rich says, same here. He says, 2 remotes and keypad. Thanks, Rich. I'm going to sleep better tonight now, actually. I'm serious. I am, because that's the way I look at it, because otherwise I've had too many people. They just I was just telling the wife about a builder I worked for a while back ago, and there was one remote left, and I don't know if he was trying to schnooker me. You know, it was a brand new install, and he bought all the stuff from, it was Horman through a local builder, what do you call it, lumberyard. I installed it. I hung everything up by the thing. I didn't take pictures. I should have took pictures. And a couple days later, he calls me back, and he's like, hey, he's like, didn't this thing come with a second remote? And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, here we go with the stupid second remote. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, I hung them both on the wall button, you know, the wire right by where, you know. And he's like, yeah, he's like, there's only one. And I'm like, oh. So now it's like, did he think I stole it? Why would I steal a Horman? I don't want no stinking Horman remote. I ain't got no Horman crap. And I'm, you know, and it's like, I don't know if he kept pushing me to be like, you know, where because he's the builder, and it was going to be like, oh, not a problem, Paul. I'll get you another one. You know, I'll get you another one. Don't worry, because I know you got other doors. And the problem was, I already knew his secret. His secret is he always uses the cheapest, but the other guy that was the crackhead failed, so he was using us, and we weren't going to be there forever. He was just buttering us up, you know. So I knew that was coming, but I just said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I left them both there. I left the manual, you know, sitting there. I might even hung them from the disconnect, because I see people do that. I'm pretty sure actually that's what I did, because the drywall was not up in the garage yet. So I left everything kind of loosey-goosey, and I just know how drywallers are, and they just come in and they're like, get out of the way. So, says I quoted my customers 125, and so far I've been tipped extra. Nice. That's awesome, man. That's great. That's really good to hear. Says, yeah, that's a good price. He says, definitely a little low, but you should get work at that price. Yeah, I agree. You can kind of look at it, like I said, it's kind of one of those things I look at, you know, you can buy openers, some on sale right now for 165, 230 roughly. In a nutshell, you kind of double it, you know, in a nutshell. If you want to back it off a little bit, go for it. So I would agree, probably a little bit, but hey, if this is part-time, they're going to do maybe some cash money. You got, you know, it's always a balance, right? Everybody knows this. It's either it's time or money. It's like, what do you got? You know, and if you got time, hey, you know what? If you're not just sitting there watching Netflix at night, and you can go out and make $125, hell yeah, go do it. You know what I mean? Because Netflix is gonna cost you a hell of a lot more. You're gonna rot out your teeth, you're gonna get a big old gut like me, and you're gonna, you know, just waste time. So it's like, hey, evening, weekend, whatever, and you're learning, and you're getting better, and you're getting, like I said, you're even getting paid for college. That's great. You know what I mean? Definitely pricey, definitely a little low. Garage says, Canadian Dormer says, I'm only doing openers since it's mainly me and I drive a Kia. Oh, come on, man. You need to send me a picture of the Kia. Josh got rid of the Spark. He had a Chevy Spark. He was my man. He was driving a Chevy Spark doing 12 by 14 garage doors. I'll never forget it. He FaceTimed me and everything. I love you, Josh. And he's like, all like, I'm like, how you doing that? He's like, I'm just doing it like a Chevy. He got a van now. He upgraded. But he said he's gonna keep it. He's gonna keep the Chevy Spark. So, hoorah! A Kia? Come on, man. Send me that. That's awesome. That's great. That's the stuff right there. I go, man. If there, you know, that's just, if there's a will, there's a way. That's awesome. I just think that's awesome. That's why I kind of I don't got the big service truck anymore. You know, I just use the little Nissan, right? I'm trying to be like, you can do it. You know what I mean? It's more of it's a confidence, right? Confidence is what will sell. Not saying that other stuff doesn't help. I mean, advertising, billboards, yeah, all that stuff adds up, right? But I'm always looking out for the little guy. I want people to get out there and try it. You know, and let's make America great again. Oh. This is fair enough. He says, that's fine, look, Mr. Guy, to strap them on the top. Oh man. The best part is though, if LiftMaster guy is buying the box store openers, ding ding ding, guess what? They fit in the trunk or the back seat, which is the best. The only thing I don't know, I'm sure you can pay for it. I've never really done it. It's like I don't know if Menards and Lowe's, I'm sure they'll do it. I don't know what they charge. I'm sure they'll deliver doors for you. I'm trying to think. I know Lowe's did it, right? Because they used to use Amar. And Amar, I remember Amar complaining about how they had to go to a residential to drop off a door for Lowe's. I don't know what the charge is though. But that's kind of the thing I'm always trying to strive for. Like I said, there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean? And hey, like this week, I should be out chopping up the door. And hey, I'm not hauling a door. You know what I mean? They went and got it. They feel like they're getting a good deal. Good kudos for them. That's actually less work for me. I didn't have to deal with it coming off a semi. I didn't have to put it into a shop. I didn't have to take it out of a shop and put it back into a vehicle. You know, the scrap metal, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay with. I didn't really clarify, but that's going to be the game plan. And you know how it is. Like, I watch Facebook, and there's people that are like, I got a scrap wash machine, anybody? And there's like 27 guys on there like, where's it at? I'll come get it. It's $5. I want it. I almost thought about doing with some concrete at that job when I was working on the fence job. I was like, I really don't want to move this crap. I was like, I'm just gonna put it on here for half price, you know, and see if I can get like just somebody to come haul the crap, you know. So I learned that one time we were working at a place taking scrap metal. This guy, we were in a real broke area. He literally had, basically it was a Kia probably. And he strapped that crap on top like a wing. You'd think the long way? Hell no, this dude did it the opposite way. He put straps around it. And the scrapyard wasn't really too far away actually. But I'm just like up there and the guy, you know, but I was strapped, man. I was strapped for workers. I was like, I mean, I was already dying. And this guy comes along, he's like, hey man, he's like, what do you do with this scrap? And I'm like, give me 20 bucks, it's yours. He's like, how about 10? I'm like, it's yours. Now all I'm thinking in my head is going, it's free labor. I ain't got to deal with the mess. I ain't got to haul it back to the shop. I ain't got to put it in the dumpster. It's the best labor. It's free. He's not on payroll. He's not on workers' comp. I don't know who this dude is. He was stealing our crap, officer. You know, so go ahead, take it. Roof rack. There you go. What's somebody working out of truck or van? Ooh, good one, Canadian Doorman. So like for me, I got the Nissan I've been using, Frontier. What year is that? 03? I've been using the little baby truck. I like the baby truck. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I learned when I get older? Is I like everything I can reach from the sides, right? I don't have to climb in. But I still think the Cutaway was really nice. The Cutaway for a full-blown service vehicle, the Cutaway van was really nice. So they're both trucks and van. Rich has got a minivan. Rich, you never sent me a picture of the minivan. I won't share it. I want to see the minivan. LiftMaster got a Kia Sportage. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't think I know what a Kia Sportage is. Minivan, man. I tell you, this builder, this is like all seriousness. And it still blows my mind. Like, I still can't even comprehend it. But I think it comes to, like I said, I think you can do it. Like you can pull it off with confidence. I think I was there too, right? And this is all caveat, because if you're doing commercial, you got to pull trailers and stuff like that. That's all different, right? You gotta have a scissor lift and all that. But this builder place, they do big red steel buildings. I mean, we're massive buildings, right? This one builder guy, he's a real cool dude. He just drives around. It's like, and they filter him, right? So he's like third in command or something. They filter the big boss guys, get the new ones, right? And then he'll get the ones that are, 3-5 years old. And I'm always like, no stickers. And I'm always like, I can't believe he doesn't even complain or get ridiculed about it. I mean, he'll just pull up to a job. He pops out of there, man. And it's like his chest is just all, he's like, wow. And he just does his thing, right? And he's like, I need this. He's talking to the customer. He's shaking hands. He's doing this. And I'm always like, dude, he's the man. Like, he's just like, and he's just driving a minivan. And like I said, it's kind of weird when I think about the years with Lowe's and stuff. Like, I never had too many people. I think the only one time I got questioned on a vehicle was when I was driving a U-Haul truck. I rented a U-Haul truck because my truck was in the shop. I can't remember if I put my insert in, if I had it or not, but I put my tools in there. And I remember the guy kind of walked out and he's like, "What's up with the U-Haul truck?" I'm like, "Vehicle's in for service. It's getting repaired. So, I'm here for you." He's like, "Oh, but any other time we used personal. We had magnets on them. We had when we were doing stuff for Lowe's. I could not believe I didn't have people come in or people come out to us. I see it, Rich. It's up there. So that's cool. And I couldn't believe, though, I never got the customers that come out and go, "What the hell? What? I hired Lowe's. Why'd yours say affordable door and gate? Like, do I got to call somebody? Do you guys got the right?" I mean, never. It was like all they cared about was themselves. And they were like, "Fix my shit and go away." That's all they cared about. That's all they cared about. Fix my stuff, make it work, pick up the crap, take it away, whatever. I'll sign. I already paid, blah, 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 go away. That's what all it was. Like, I still, like I said, I haven't found anything about it. I don't know if there's any theories. Now, I've had people call before when I've had vehicles. They've called and complained, right? Because they've wrapped vehicles. They see numbers on vehicles. That's why, like, it's almost like you got your number on there. But it's like one company around here, they say their name, but they don't say their phone number. And I'm like, that's probably a good idea. Because they got so many. And they're an electrical company, though. But they do, like, the telephone poles and stuff. Not even, they're next under Consumers Power for us around here, the big dogs. But I thought, otherwise you get people call. I've had that before. Because I passed a few people when I was a little younger, right? And people call. Or they passed me or something. I don't remember. They call, "Is this the owner?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What do you want? You just passed me, you jerk." Or whatever, Oh, man. He says, Tony says, "I just have a 2-man show." He says, "Or I should say 1 man and a woman." Darn good woman, though. Nice. Tony, he says, "Yeah," he says, "It's my daughter. She's 20, been helping me for 3 years. She's going to take over the shop here in Indy. I'm going to start something down in Florida part-time." Part-time? Shoot, man. I'm coming down there. It's full-time. Alex says, "My new LiftMaster tells me the horoscope every morning." No, man, that's great. Alex, and then some. Oh, man. Let's see here. Master. I gotta catch up here. Horoscope. He says Alex, and then some. It's good for you, man. Snow sucks. He says no better place to live than Southern U.S. Heck yeah. It's weird. You got to almost do the balance. That's why they got the snowbirds. It's like Michigan. Can't beat Michigan summers. I mean, it's great up here. Water, beautiful. Everything's beautiful. But winters, especially when you get lake effect. Oh, I hate lake effect because it's like nobody else is getting it. We're just getting it. Lake effect. Oh, we get hammered sometimes. Channel supports MySpace. Are you serious? My channel supports MySpace. MySpace. Oh, I get it. Oh, been there, Dave, sister guy. Remember, there's always YouTube. That's right. YouTube University. He said, "That's why we don't carry light bulbs." Light bulbs have come a long ways. At least now they're the plastic ones. That's helped tremendously. If you do want to carry light bulbs. Part of Michigan. I'm in GR. Our family jams. What part? Oh, Muskegon. Muskegon's where the shop's at. So you're not very far away. Could probably throw a laser in the sky, and you probably see it. Have you done a new LiftMaster yet? No, if you're asking me. I've not done the new. I was going to go down to Josh, and then I think Josh was working the 4th. 4th of July, because he said something about Thursday. I thought he threw it in there. And I was like, ooh, I was like, maybe I can make it, because I, like that day's off, and I thought that'd be cool. I get to go down there and hang out and play with the new opener, the Maximum. And then I ended up working anyways. I was doing some fence. I was finishing up because I had to do the angle cuts. I was really upset about, and I was on a hill. My feet were killing me, and I was like, I just want to get this out of my life. And so I did. And plus, it was just nice when there's not a bunch of stuff around. I've done lots of new LiftMasters. He says, no, they don't. I recommend to customers to get one. How do you feel about them? Tony says, you get the crank with your spring turner. You don't need a crank on a car. Oh man, Tony, are we starting to fight here? Are we going to start a fight? I feel like we're starting to fight here. Tony, he says, I forgot to tell you, if I order my Sure-Winder this week. Oh, I hit something here. Weekend now, my Brute Winder has a little brother. Oh, this is great. I love it. Oh. It says new LiftMasters are good. It says 980-022 says side mount. The replacement of the 85 has had some issues though. The limited cable tension issue is fixed now, which is good because I despise the 8500. That's what turned me off. I don't use the jack shaft ones for residential. I went to Genie. Hopefully they've resolved that. I have not tested that myself. Are you talking about the commercial LiftMaster? Yeah. He says, I've only done the commercial ones. Tanner says, anybody want to buy a 9T75 Logic 5.0 opener? They went through a flood. Oh my gosh. That was crazy, man. That is crazy. Some work, but some will need new electric boards. Oh, I felt so bad for Tanner with that flood he had. That's not fun. I don't know what's worse, a flood. I think a flood is better than a fire though, because my garage burned down. It's crispy. Canadian says, I pass. Says, what's he got here? Says, yeah, really lucked out. Job is 2.5 years past my storing 10 doors job in my shop for a contractor, but he's making GM or a project cover the cost, openers, lost, thank Jesus. Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Do you grease rails on piece together rails? I've always kind of wondered that a little bit. Most time if we're talking about the openers, they got little plastic. I never even knew, maybe some people don't even know this, I never knew on the T-rails that there's a piece of metal in there until one of my foreman guys years ago told me he had one break. He said, so that's why you need to grease them. He says, they give you that little bit of grease. And I ain't gonna lie, for a long time, when I first started out, I was like, whatever, I ain't greasing this crap. It works fine, it sounds fine. Well, yeah, it's fine for right now, but give it a couple years or a year or whatever. Then I realized you need to grease them, right? So I greased them, and then I had one literally break, a piece of metal to keep that trolley somewhat taut. It broke and turned sideways in there and jammed up. So I was like, ooh, that's another reason why you grease it. But the tube ones, it seems like they got plastic in there, so you don't need to. I'm not gonna say I haven't dusted them real lightly with a little bit of oil, just kind of a waft in the air, kind of like an aerosol spray. But I don't think you really need to on the box store ones, because I don't think they give you grease. I don't think they give you grease in the box. Another cost savings. Grease together. My bad, doorman. He says, I mean jack shaft or the Trolley Max. Yeah, I haven't done one of the Max yet. Bummer. And I don't know if we're going to get them because it sounds like Cap said the cost is higher. He said he's been really happy with the Genie commercial. He hasn't had any problems. So he said, I don't think we're going to change, you know. I don't know what the cost difference is. How much more? Because we're talking maybe $100, $200, $300 more. But I don't know. I would never grease them. He says, especially in cold climates, the grease gets really tacky. That's true. Never oil residential opener rails. Don't want them dripping on a car. That's true. Nissan Dave, he says, that's not really American of you. I know. It's kind of weird. I know it's not for every manufacturer, but my dad was he worked for the car manufacturer. He was a tool and die engineer, you know. And he said, you know, he told me one time, this is years ago, he says, Dave, he says, if people knew, if you ever go look at the sticker, you know, on a brand new car and look at where all the parts and stuff is made, he says, you'd be amazed that there's more stuff. It was the opposite, right? Like Toyota and stuff, Toyota has more stuff built in America than General Motors has built. And so I've kind of thrown that out the window over the years because, you know, I'm a blue collar man, and you know, my pockets aren't just endless, and I can't afford to have vehicles in the shop. And you know, I mean, maybe somebody can comment in here. What do you think? I mean, we're talking probably from the 80s, right? We'll say 1980. I still been trying to figure out kind of what, in my theory, what's been the best overall vehicle that's simple to work on. And I keep reverting to possibly, and then the problem is something that has multiple doors. So like the Chevy Suburban, like a 1987 Chevy Suburban, I kind of go, what are the common, like, yeah, it's underpowered. So maybe you move up to like a 2005 or a four-door. But the thing is that I am really digging the fact that I can reach everything. Like, I don't like high vehicles anymore, especially for work, because I don't like climbing up in them. You know what I mean? I like reaching over. That's why I like the Nissan. I like that I can reach over in the bed and I can touch everything in the box. The doors, I like it for kids. You know, when I first started out, to some degree, and this is just my opinion, preference, right? I had a Ford Raptor, a decked out Ford Raptor. You know, but I realized that the height, man, I mean, you're harder on the seats, right? The wives, they always twist out and just fall off, right? So they're always wearing out your seat on the passenger side or even driver's side. The kids were stumbling, you know, they're stumbling even though you got a tire, or what do you call it? You know, the bar underneath, you know, a step plate or whatever you want to call it, to get in the vehicle. They're slipping, it gets wet, you armor all it, you want it to look nice or something. You know, I had a step for the tailgate. You had to climb the damn thing all the time. And I tell you, it's like the older I get, the more I go, I don't want to climb in this thing. That's why the cutaway van was really nice. It had big steps on it. The doors and everything dropped. So I really recommend that. And my uncle told me this years ago, and I kind of laughed at him, but he would drive like the smaller Chevy Blazers. I think, I'm trying to think what year it is. Like an 04, 07, I think, the smaller Blazers. And I'm always like, why don't you get? And he goes, I can reach everything. He goes, I open up the door, I can reach inside. He says, I can reach in the back. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you, you know? And like I said, everybody's jobs are different. So I definitely don't try to point anybody into any direction. It's just, for me, whatever's, you know, I've had the bigger trucks. And the bigger trucks, you got to take them to different places than your average Joe mechanic. If you try to do the work yourself, you'll eventually get burned out. You have to buy bigger tools. You'll never have any weekends, you know, because you're going to try to fix some of the stuff yourself, brakes. You know, I bought a box truck one time. That was a nightmare. I took it in just to get inspected. It was $700. The plate alone was like $1,000 or $1,200 a year just for the sticker or something on it. It was a big boy. You know, big boy stuff costs, you know, big toys cost a lot of money. You know what I mean? You want to go big, you got to play big, you know, or pay big. I don't know how to say it, but So it's kind of been the opposite a little bit, kind of slow it down a little bit. But yeah, I agree. You know, and I've had a couple customers. I remember I haven't had any recently, but I've had a couple that were, you know, I pull up or something. I like you guys, you know, old guys normally. And they, oh, why is that? You know, I just got here. Well, you drive an American-made vehicle. You know, okay, that's cool. You know, you know. But it's weird because now I think about it. I still think about my grandpa. I never got to ask him. I think it was Yankee Autos or something like that. But anyways, he used to work as a mechanic, and then I realized towards the end of his life, he drove Toyotas. He started out with Nissan Datsuns, and I thought, did my grandpa know something? I never talked to him about it, you know what I mean? But as a mechanic, typically mechanics don't want to work on their own stuff. Kind of like garage door guys don't want to work on their own crap. So it's kind of weird, you know? Like, so I just always wonder if there was something behind it. But thanks for bringing that up. That's good. Let's see here. NV 3500. Nice. A lot of room in the NV 2500 says. Sam says, oh, Tanner says, I got a board for that. Nice. Perfect. I need 9 logic boards, 9 power boards, and 9 motors. Oh my gosh. This is scrap metal now. Oh, for 400, 500 bucks. Don't know if worth my time. Might just scrap them. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I was like, scrap those things. Says, oh, I probably 9 RPM sensors. Oh, yeah. 9. Tanner says, bring it. He says, on my surf winder. Let's go. Do we got any discounts on the Surewinder today, Tony? We got any special offers? Sounds like a lot of money. Tanner says, I would take fire over flood any day. Insurance doesn't. Ooh, this is a good point. I want to bring up something else. Don't let me forget if I forget helmet and motorcycle. Flood, he says, doesn't cover flood, non-plan 98%. Town is covered. Sounds like a fire easy cleanup, scope, and rebuild flood is. A damn mess, lots of tear out, dry out, and sheetrock insulation and plywood. It's gonna take months. Oh man, covered. Say we are all screws. It's covered. I went to say we all screwed. Man, that's crazy. You want an easy work on vehicle, avoid. I would agree. I hear a lot of bad things about the Kias, so I probably would never own a Kia. Avoid Kia anything, he says. Yeah, Honda, like Rich says, Honda Accord. Typically Honda, Toyota, they make some, you know, if we're staying, buy a Duramax. Of course, Tanner has to throw that in. Buy a Duramax, big old Duramax diesel. Get a Ford. I love it, Tony. Get a Ford effing Ranger. Now I'm thinking of that thing, you know, it's a Ford Ranger. They always got those little memes or whatever they do, those little clips. Funny. Actually, some of the older Ford Rangers were pretty damn good. I used to run Ford Rangers, and man, they were invincible. But anyways, before I forget, I didn't realize, I just came across a friend through Facebook of something, blah, blah, blah. Somebody was riding a motorcycle, of course, at 1 a.m., probably doing great things at 1 a.m. in the morning, probably out delivering Christmas gifts. Anyways, the person got in an accident. I guess they didn't get found until 4 a.m. by a police officer passing by. So they probably went in the woods, probably, if I had to guess, maybe tipping a beer or two. Anyways, they were not wearing a helmet. And I didn't know this. But I was reading, and the person's doing a GoFundMe and stuff. All nice things. But the insurance is not covering the accident because they weren't wearing a helmet. Now, I would have never thought of that. Because in Michigan, we don't have to wear helmets. But the insurance company. And I thought, oh my gosh. Now, this guy had to have part of his skull removed to relieve the pressure. I think he's still maybe unconscious or in a coma. I can't remember. But, you know, he's got bills, got a family, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wonderful. Insurance won't cover it. And I thought, I will be darned. You know, even though it's not a law. So it's just that whole thing, that fine print. Be careful out there. It's better to be proactive and not have the fire. Flood, you can't do nothing. But it's just one of those things. That kind of bugs me. I'm asking for a truck with a crane. Dang. 2 truck with a crane. Wow. That's right, Tony. I'm exactly going to get a Ranger. One of those next year. He says, do a 4-bit come-in swap. Oh my gosh. Let's just have to an adult for a few years. He says, get all the business stuff handled. How would you deal with employees crashing a vehicle? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've had them, I had one smash a Ford Ranger actually up, blew the airbags. I think it's just kind of part of the business. You just take your lickings. It just depends on the situation. Every situation is different. I did find it interesting that this was like the first time we let him drive, and he was all legit, right? But he was young. And I remember hearing from some of the guys that he took a lot of selfies. And so my guess is, and that's why I think it's going to be somewhat harder for the future generation, is that the technology, and I'm even seeing it, you know, when I'm on the roads, people are not driving. It doesn't seem like it ever gets better, right? They are not driving any better. I was almost kind of hoping to some degree, which is not that I want it to come, because bad things could come of it too, but the self-driving cars, I thought, well, maybe like it would eliminate some of the knuckleheads, or maybe, you know, but they're having their own problems, right? Tesla's got all kinds of crap going on. It's just, so anyways, but he smacked somebody. And the worst part is he did it, I think, on a Friday or something. They didn't let me know until Monday. And with situations like that, I've had instances where police will show up at your house randomly, and they start wanting to ask you questions, and you're like, why in the hell is a police officer here? And they're like, well, it looks like your vehicle was involved in an accident. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, do you own a white something? And you're like, oh yeah, like, and then, so that stuff can get kind of gnarly. So that's sometimes why you got to be very careful with who you hang around. Tanner, how much I hate? Says, Liftmaster guy says, Tanner, as much as I hate it, I love not having a vehicle payment. Amen to that. The more, I can't stress enough, I want to divulge in that a little bit, because when you run a business, and I think as a contractor, I'm just speaking from the heart here, I think it's easy to get caught up in the hype. And you got so much business going on. You got so many things. You got, you know, you feel, sometimes you can feel like you're on top of the world and nothing can go wrong. And sometimes your line of credit can open up. You can get into certain resources. And I think it's very hard, and I think it's also good to stay humble. And the more you can keep out of those credit card companies, the banks, is a really big thing. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people didn't have to go through the, you know, not, I shouldn't say a lot, but some people didn't have to go through the 06, the 07, the 08 like I did. And that was devastating. I was just starting out. And my credit got shot by an ex, and you just never know how things can spiral out of your control, right? We can't always, we'd like to think that our spouses or something aren't going to do something, or something's not going to happen, or a death or an accident, but things do happen. And it's amazing how fast they can go out of whack, and what kind of stress they can put on you. And then if you don't have the right people or employees and stuff like that, it can make just life an absolute nightmare, you know. So the more you can, I like that saying I always say, you know, it's keep it small, keep it all. And it's not that you got to be, you know, chucking a truck. That's fine. If that works for you too, you can always, there's always different ways. It's just remember, every action has a reaction. And sometimes you just don't see it right up front. You know what I mean? So it's gnarly. It can be gnarly sometimes. And there's a lot of variables that are not in our control. You know what I mean? Interest rates, accidents, product problems, shipping, cough syndrome, COVID-19. These things can happen, and you can be high on, you know, the hill, and all of a sudden this stuff can just come crashing down, and you're like, this was not my fault. But when it comes to the end of the day, the creditors, banks, they don't give a rat's, but they're coming for your stuff, and you need to make these payments. And I can't help that you can't go out and make money. You know what I mean? That's not my problem. So it can get pretty gnarly. Them on the spot. He says not prohibited against fire. He says them on the spot. He says if not prohibited against fired. Them on the spot. Fire them. Oh, I think it's what it said. Fire them on the spot. I think UPS does that. I think they fire it basically if it was like your fault. Maybe the second time. I don't know for sure if that's still their protocol. Hey there, Mr. Guy, can you come into the world with Bill, and you're gonna leave with a bill. I can't argue with you there, Tony. Oh, with a bill. Let's see. Tanner's got it here. He says, I do have a warning on the Sure Winder. Uh-oh, here we go, guys. The room make sure the 4 Allen access screws are tight. He says, I've had it starting to back out while I was winding spring the other day. Scary. Ooh. Safety recall. Payment versus non, have any Duramax. He says, I like the Duramax any day when I die. He says, I want my last check to bounce. Oh, that's funny. He says, hell yeah. He says, I have a 1994 Ranger. Used to carry siding on the most I ever carried. It was 15 square. Holy cow. Guys at Modern Building Supply thought I was fucking nuts. He's just at that baby squatting. It's like that one where they show the guy throwing a rock or something, a big boulder in the back. I'm like, is this for real, or are they just doing this for like a video? Too funny, Tanner. He says, Tanner, just kidding. He says, I leave as much as possible with my kids, but I'm hoping to instill good work habits, so make them slaves. But he says, he says, it's just money. He says, can't take it with you. The gates. No, that's right. That's why, a lot of us got to learn a lot about the trust and stuff like that too. And that's why I'm always trying to you got to go out and make a living. I don't care if you're pushing a broom, a mop, cleaning cars, doing detailing, mowing grass, fireman, police officer, garage door installer. We all got to go out and make money. You got to make money. It's just, it depends on what you want to do. Some people want to live up the life for themselves, which is fine, right? And some people want stuff for their future, their kids. That's what I look for a little bit. And I still, out of all the years of working, I still revert back to the real estate because I can't buy garage doors and go to the bank and say, hey, will you put a loan on my garage doors? I got them sitting here. Will you come check them out? No, but they'll do it on real estate. You can refinance. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can do depreciation. There's so many different things you can do with it. Where I was just listening to somebody and they said, you don't want to be serviced. You want to be the owner, and I thought, boy, that's kind of getting closer to what I'm always looking for on that, where it's different. It's different. I don't know how to describe it. Like I said, with rentals and stuff like that, it's different. It's different when you're the guy they're coming to and they're like, oh, hi, how are you doing? They're all shaking your hand and it's like, they're almost like nervous. And they're like, have you got any other bids? And you're like, no, or this or that. And they're, it's just so different, the attitude. And they're like, okay, well, hey, let me know if my number, I'm going to email you. I'll email you tonight, and you're like, okay, that's no problem. And, where it's like I've been there, I've been on that side, and I don't know. It's just difficult. Like I said, with all these things changing, right? I mean, you can't control what the next vehicles that are going to come out. They're going to be good. They're going to be bad. You're going to have to eventually drive electric vehicles, even though you say you're not going to. It might not be in our lifetime, but, there is a thing. I mean, I'm sure somebody at one time said, I will never drive a non-leaded vehicle. I would never do it. It's going to be so horrible. The engines won't last. You need the lead to keep the engine working longer. You know what I mean? Or somebody with a horse and buggy. Can you imagine back in the horse and buggy days? Somebody darn well was like, I would never drive one of those cars. I'm always going to ride my horse and my buggy because that thing could blow up. That gasoline is flammable. And then you think about now, we're in that generation where we go, I ain't riding no horse down the road. I'm going 70, 80 miles an hour. So it's just, there's things that are changing, right? And some of the stuff is in our control, some of it's not. A lot of it's not. So I just look at it and I just go, that's one thing that's still, 2x4s, shingles, very basic stuff for the most part. Furnaces and stuff like that get a little tricky. God darn garage door guys, those openers. He says, in a poll, he says, just kidding. He says, don't do, he says, in a poll, he says, just the girls or guys. Oh, on a poll, you mean. Oh, true that did. Oh, all right, guys, guess what? I hope you guys got 4 days off. Hope you guys got 4 days off. But guess what? It's Sunday. Tomorrow is Monday. And so tomorrow is a work day. My favorite. Time to get some stuff done. Get some stuff fixed out there. He says, Tanner says, I will never drive an electric vehicle. He says, here in Iowa, he says, we'll be the last. He says, drop a diesel in a Tesla. He says, don't think I won't. First car. That's right. Rich is right. Man, Rich, I've seen those before where they said electric vehicles, they show them. They're like changing, like they changed out the big old battery. I've seen that. He says, electric, he says, don't like going backwards. Yeah, no kidding, man. Isn't that crazy? Let's go attack this. We can't wait for work. I'm with you, man. I like working. Working's like a hobby to me. I definitely enjoy it. I definitely enjoy the industry. I enjoy the business. I enjoy hanging out with you guys, talking about the stuff, the good and the bad. So, anywho, I'm going to jump off here. And, oh, sweet. You got my number too, LiftMaster guy? If you, like I said, if you don't, rewind the video here, but it's just 231-720-9675. You can always shoot me anytime. Like I said, my phone's always on silent, so you ain't gonna ever wake me up or disturb me. It's just when I look at it occasionally is when it happens. But I love the pictures. Like I said, you guys got any pictures or anything, or just doing a job, or you guys got any questions or problems, and I can try to help coach you through it. I love doing that as well. I love helping because it's kind of a two-way. I actually learn from you guys, even if you're just a little guy starting out in a Kia or a Chevy Spark. I think those are the best because those are ones that are so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and are experiencing things for the first time with open minds, where us seasoned vets, we're kind of hard and true to it. I only use LiftMaster and I only use a T-rail. I won't ever go back. And, we're just kind of set in our ways sometimes. So it's fun dealing with the new guys. But you can't discount. We always love Tony and a Surewinder. Gotta love Tony. Tony, you're a good guy. So is Rich. Rich is a good guy. Kevin and all you guys. Tanner's always fun. Him and his diesel. Oh, send pictures. Says I'll send an email avoiding long distant charges. That's fine. You can always email me the Daveadubson@gmail. It's typically in most of my videos in the description below. So you're more than welcome to do that too. Night, guys. Have a good week. He says, looks like it might be a hot one. Oh, man. That's right. It is. A little rainy here. I think the end of the week is supposed to get a little better for us. So anyways, cheer you guys. Have a good night. Good talking to y'all. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you hopefully on the next one.